What up? What up? What's going on, everybody? It is your friend Duck. We are getting started. I'm just gonna go ahead and turning on whatever chat, turning on messages. So now we can all talk. Just thinking doing a chill stream tonight. Kind of just chilling, hanging out. Yeah, maybe doing a little talk on OnlyFans, clarity of speech, right? It's always a challenge when we do something like if you guys wanted to debate morality and ethics of OnlyFans or something, you guys want to talk about MAGA stuff, cool. Let me know in chat. If the people are generally wanting to do like politics, geopolitics, philosophy, cool, let's do that. If you guys wanted to do like atheist debates or something, cool, let's do that. You guys want to go back to Diddy? I did my PC stream earlier today, and like me and the sort of person who was co-hosting, she and I spent like almost 2 hours talking about Rwanda and Congo, and then we spent about 30 minutes on Diddy. So I'm down to chill out. I'm down to turn my brain off a little bit. Just being honest. Down to turn my brain off a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot when it was. I think it was next week Diddy was supposed to get sentenced. So that gives us like a week. We got a week to talk about like serious adult grown-up topics. We got like a week to talk about I don't know. Y'all can say, hey, what's up, Monk VR? Good to see you. Y'all can make fun of me for looking like vegan liver king. There's always a couple. What up, Zoomy Mac Aloni? Good to see you. Ava Bruce, good to see you. Aiden Loy, good to see you. Jackson, good to see you. Hey, thanks for the like and sub. Always appreciated. New people. Modberg, Grizz. Muhannad Isa, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh yeah, there's I don't know, Muhannad, if you're talking about people making fun of my my beard and stuff, it's always just it's part of it. You always get fans, you get haters. It's just what happens on YouTube. A lot of people don't like that I'm out here talking about progressive politics. People, I understand too. I get tired for sure. I was just saying that I spent like 2 hours earlier today talking about like security studies and rebels in Rwanda and the DRC. I get sick of that stuff. If I saw some bearded, a-hole, some D-bag on the screen, saying, let's talk about philosophy. Let's talk about morality. It's not Friday, but let's do like let's do the nerd party. I'm one of these guys. I'm always like, it's okay. It's cool. It's cool. Phils, what's up? Good to see you. John, good to see you. Heck yeah. Have you guys seen that short? My short's been getting blown up with that gang. Do you gangbang? But someone did a Ja Morant edit. I haven't seen the Lamar Jackson one. That's just immediately what I thought about, Ja Morant a little bit. No, I love the athletic stuff a little bit too. Going all the way into it. Yeah, going all the way into it. Oh, John's just spamming Lamar Jackson. Get that spam out of here, bro. Get that spam out of here. I want to hear like super good arguments about OF or whatever. I want to hear really good arguments about OnlyFans, about what was it? Pornhub. PH got banned in Texas. I want to hear your hot takes about the Diddy trial, all that kind of stuff. We can get into the geopolitics stuff a little bit if you guys want. We don't have to. Random person asks, who is Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson is a quarterback in NFL. He was very good as a rookie. He's still very good. He's one of these really, I think Lamar Jackson, if I'm thinking of the right guy, really big body, athletic, fast, very disciplined quarterback. I haven't been that close or good about following the NFL. That's about where the channel's at. That's about how nerdy we are. If y'all are just tuning in, feel free to smash the like button, or don't, whatever. There's tons of good creators. Swipe that left button, swipe that right button. I do care, I don't care. I don't know. We're just chilling. So awkward, dude. So awkward, bro. Grab the camera for a Lamar Jackson edit. We getting out here, buddy. You think boy plays? You think your boy plays? You guys want to see my QB throw? I'm not that athletic. I was never like, in high school, I had a couple friends that were athletic. One of my wrestling teammates placed in state. I didn't win anything. I won one tournament in my entire high school career. And it wasn't even that big of a tournament, not a ton of competition, but my QB, you gotta be able to line up and stay fluid through all that stuff. We get after it, boy. We get after it, boy. They forget that we Huey Newton in the lose. They don't even know what they're looking at. We out here. Go ahead, smash that like. Get out of my channel. No, I'm just playing. Get out the channel, boy. Uh-oh. I put on moderation, by the way, guys. I put on moderation on the comments. The other day we had 22,000 people. I've assigned one mod to the channel. She's super cool. I don't expect her to come to all the streams. But just for people that want to leave out their opinions about OnlyFans, about MAGA, about whatever, about philosophy, you want to elevate, de-elevate the conversation, whatever that is. John, can you be mod? Sure. Let's say RPG guy says, why do you think that Chuck Schumer hasn't been arrested for PDF pictures with young foreign girls? I'm going to keep that one hidden, RPG guy. I'm going to keep that hidden. No offense to you, bro. Yeah. Oh, what up? Let's go, baby. Yeah, I'm going to keep that one hidden. If I had to offer an answer, I'd say it's because it's fake news. It's a made up story. I appreciate you asking. That's always really helpful for people that want to see a freedom-enabling future for our government. John, let's go. All right. Hey, John, if I make you a mod, though, cool out with messages. If you do mod, you have to act like a mod duty. It is it's not like a huge responsibility, but I will make you a standard moderator. If Alicia shows up, then we got John and Alicia here. I don't know you at all, John, but I appreciate you volunteering to be a moderator. That's all you got to do. It's not fake news. Give me a break. I don't know, man. Chuck Schumer, he's a dude that spends his day reviewing legal analysis and meeting with leaders in the community. I think that if any politician is committing nefarious, illegal, unfair acts, I think if any politician isn't representing their voters, then yeah, they should and usually do get investigated. We've had to crack down on corruption a lot of times in our country's history. If you're one of the people that knows about that history, I don't, so let me know. But whatever. Random person asks, what do I think of the big beautiful bill? Exactly how it should be. I got a lot of sympathy. In the U.S. and the United States, we called old democratic conservatives, people progressive about civil rights and stuff like this, people that aren't afraid to sometimes pull the trigger on infrastructure, provide jobs directly from the government. John, you're already a mod. You got the wrench, brother. You got the mod. That's the Lord, John. John can be a mod and nobody even knows he's a mod, though. So I'm sympathetic to a lot of the politicians that maybe a better way to say this is they would have represented the working class blue collar Americans while also been very honest about that American capitalism is effective and that we don't need to tax people into oblivion. I'm sympathetic to that. I think what Trump has done without the conversation, I think what the House of Representatives did was push through a bill because they're afraid. They're afraid of the clout of the MAGA movement. I think there's a lot of fear. I think a lot of the hope right now is living with individuals on the side of the Democrats. I think a lot of the hope is there knowing that as a community and as a country, we can get through these really tough budget cuts and all this other stuff. Yeah. And so RPG guy says, then why hasn't Pelosi give me a break? Oh, this is still about, you're still going on about jail. People, Democrats, you want to jail. I got a topic. I got a topic for you guys, for the MAGA folks. There was just a pardoned J6er who was put back in jail today. You guys want a little bit of news? If we want a little bit of news, right? And this is kind of, I think there's people that aren't really deeply into politics who will see this kind of stuff as a little bit funny. They'll see this as a little bit funny. Another J6er, someone who stormed the Capitol on January 6th and was pardoned by Trump, was just arrested for a conspiracy to assault, probably, mucked up actual FBI agents. And not only that, there was a conspiracy to get people to rebel against the government. He wanted a civil war. Let's go, John. John's a subscriber. John's a mod. Let me see whoever's reacting. Let me see some hearts, some party hats. Let me see all that stuff in chat. Let me see all that stuff. John can even go crazy and hide your speech and messages. We are celebrating. We got a new mod, baby. We got at least one. Let's go. Let's go. Smash that like button. Nah. We can chill a little bit. Yeah, but RPG guy, just to kind of to close that one off, I want to look at actual current events that are happening in the world. That's one of the things I want to be able to do with you guys. I don't claim myself to be some expert. I claim myself to be someone that can go out and research, that can deliver whatever news stories are there, that can debate a point. I can steel man a position if y'all have an opinion. I can do all that stuff. The thing I can't do is when a story or I believe a narrative is based on nothing, I don't want to take any part of that. I don't want any part of that, right? That to me, that is the thing that sort of kills my vibe, kills my chill. And I think the cool part is that, like, look, okay, huge nerd back in office. I talked about Jean-Jacques Rousseau the other day. Y'all added some really good advice and opinions. We talked about all kinds of stuff, civil strife, right? I had 50 people subscribe the other day. I'm like, not as like a metric, like, 50 people were watching the stream or whatever. I had 50 people in one stream subscribe. I think the reason that is that, like, to me, it's cool to be able to have an intelligent conversation, and then we talk about Diddy. Then we can talk about Diddy. Or we talk about Diddy first. We talk about OnlyFans first. What sport did I play? What up, Grizz on FN? What sport did I play? I wrestled, and then I played basketball and football with my friends a bunch. I played racquetball. I'm in Arizona. In Arizona, we've got a bunch of outdoor racquetball stuff, and then I wrestled competitively. I wasn't a very good wrestler, and I'm old now. I'm a 35-year-old man. I've been through it all. I've seen it all, as much as a person can in 35 years. And so, yeah. I rode bikes a bunch too back in the day. I used to love riding my bike. I ended up having to sell it for financial reasons. Some of y'all know about that, but some of y'all know what it's like to be, putting your house up on OfferUp and stuff. Before people, like, I'm a slow learner, right? I don't learn things right away. I'm always behind, underneath stuff. Sorry, that's what you get when you come here. You get to watch it some guy who is, below the folds of society, right? You poor buddy duck, I always try to say that, I make the best of things when I have that opportunity. When we have the opportunity together to finally look out into the future and say, I don't have to sell my microwave on Facebook Marketplace. I don't have to depend on Mark Zuckerberg paying his server farm costs for me to pay my rent this month. When we finally get to that point, I think that we can say that Martin Luther King Jr., I think we can say that Julio Cesar Chavez and many others have done their job well for us. Let's go. I don't play video games, bro. I don't play video games. I used to. I played Halo 3 back in the day. I was an old school first-person shooter guy. I did have a 50. I was talented at the things society said I got to be talented at. Now I learn from the people. Like, no, it changed a bunch. That was, yeah, I played Halo. I played Halo back in the day. Yeah, John Grizz, work that out. No worries. I like Grizz talking, John. It's cool. We got all these folks can talk a little bit as long as there's no TOS and all that stuff. But I appreciate that too, bro. Angel Wave says 5 years. Wait, 5 years. Let me help you feel a little better. The world is changing. Universal basic income will be a necessity within the next 5 to 10 years of the takeover of AI. Angel Wave Productions continues. Human and public services will have to become prolific as the population ages and jobs are no longer available. Cool. Yeah, if y'all want to sub, make me work for it a little bit. Super egotistical and selfish. Yar the world be this way. Make me earn your sub. So Angel Wave Productions has a topic. I want to get to some of this good stuff. John is asking a great question. How many girls have I pulled? You don't have to guess. It's not that high. I was a good Catholic boy. That's all I would say about that. But yeah, Angel Waves, let me put this message up. UBI, y'all don't want to debate the morality of OnlyFans. You want to talk about universal basic income. And so Angel Waves, what I would say to this, the first thing I would say to this is, is it necessary that universal basic income and other technocratic, other means that aren't economic, right? When we're talking about the government not making necessarily a logical case about why we provide for the most vulnerable, and in fact, everyone in a society becomes provided for. We're basing this argument in the way that you phrased it off of fear. So I would like you to respond to me about, do we have to talk about universal income based on fear? I don't have any problem with you saying that there's going to be an AI takeover. If I talked about artificial intelligence, if I talked about artificial intelligence and the values in a society, if I talked about things that our psychology is naturally drawn to, that you leave your front of your house and you can go out, look left, look right, and you see these things. I would say that AI is providing enormous opportunities in the West. It's providing enormous opportunities in places like China. That is one of the computing leaders in the world. And so I don't think a conversation based on fear and universal basic income is best for the United States. As progressive as I am, as much as I want to see New York eventually going to Mamdani, as much as I want to see idealistic people operating with a market-based mindset, shaking up how the free market and capitalism works in the US, I would like to see all of these things. Yeah, I would. Y'all going at it right now. I hope that's okay. But yeah, I would like to see all these things. And Angel, I would just say that, if I had to respond to one thing, I would say that, look, Alaska and Texas have had universal basic income in the way of negative income taxes. That's it. Those are the main things. We already have it. I don't think you're offering an argument that even for me as a progressive is enough to progress the dialogue or the conversation, right? That's all I care about, is progressing the dialogue or conversation. And instead of biting onto that, right? Understanding that, like, look, what's his name? Sandeep Patel? No. No. Sandekar, the Google CEO, Microsoft CEO. All these people are people that are trying to find a way to provide more high-paying jobs. You guys can hate Jeff Bezos, but if I'm an elected politician, do you know where my campaign finance comes from? Do you know where my constituents get gas in their car? All that stuff is really important. All that stuff matters a ton. A ton. Yeah. That stuff matters more than anything. So, let's see. Angel Wave's getting back into this. It's not fear-based, as a matter of fact. The singularity, which is the event in which AI becomes self-aware, does not have to be feared. It does not need to be respected, and we do not need to manage it and regulate it up to the point that there are two paths. One is a very positive one. Mr. Palad sees me. What's up? Hey, good to see you. Yeah, I do need a haircut. I need a beard trim. If you want to see this at its full glory, this baby's been long for a long time. We out here. All this stuff. We out here. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking pretty bad. I need a shave. I need a dentist. I need a loan officer for my mortgage. I need a mortgage. I need a car payment. I need another tech job. Ryan's here. Oh, shoot. Radical Coder in the chat. Like the stream. Please help get this duck a haircut. Let's go. If y'all want to see Radical Coder, he's a great YouTuber. I was just talking about you today, by the way, on Sarah's panel. I was debating Rob Noor. I don't know if anyone knows Normal America with Rob Noor. One of Rob's favorite pastimes when he's not suckling at the teat of Andrew Wilson and Jim Bob, these very orthodox, conservative, sort of Christian MAGA sort of supporters. One of Rob Noor's favorite pastimes is going after Ryan. And he asked me today on panel who the best panelist is. And I said that while Ryan is one of the best hosts on YouTube, he's one of the best content creators, he's also one of the best panelists. So I put you over. If Coder's still here, I put Radical Coder over Not So Erudite. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, that sounds useful. Yeah, always trying to get hourly jobs and all that stuff. If you have tips for it, we don't need to be specific. Whoops. Where was frickin' what's it called? Angel Wave up here. Human and I'm gonna unpin that message. What about OnlyFans? Do y'all got opinions about OnlyFans? Is there anything there? Let me hear it. We're still on UBI. Oh yeah. There's a ton of there's a ton of whoops. Oh, John, ease up. You can do 30 second and let me see if I can come in here real quick. I don't mind, Mr. Palud. You can't just boot people out of the hold on. I don't think I can do it on mobile. Don't just boot people out for saying stuff like that. Yeah, you can put people on a short timeout if they say something that violates TOS though. That's running wild, okay? Okay. Based, waste of time and money. It's freelance. I have an opinion. I genuinely believe that people and OnlyFans should be allowed to express themselves as they see fit. That's my dog right there. Yeah. It's OnlyFans is actually really exploitative. It's really exploitative. Yeah. And so if I'm just going to argue against you a little bit, what I would say is that OnlyFans, like every social media platform, the top 1% of creators make 90% of the money. They get picked up by the algorithm. They get more new subscribers. They get more subscribers that want to donate or buy whatever product or course they're selling. And so OnlyFans as a social media platform is exploitative, but OnlyFans itself is not a platform like all others. OnlyFans is a platform that I think our human psychology has a difficult time. Like, yeah, you can completely do what you want. Nobody is like naive enough to think that pornography or adult work, adult entertainment doesn't exist. We in fact just had the entire Diddy case was about a different type of adult work, one of the oldest professions in the world, right? And so OnlyFans models, they're not prostitutes with the derogatory word, right? They're not this thing. But the thing I would say is that not as a voter, but as a personal moral person, I feel that you are, to not be too critical, but I think your opinion is asking too much of people. All it's saying is that all I read that you said is that, like, look, I'm not going to say anything bad about OnlyFans creators. I'm not going to say anything bad about OnlyFans itself. Maybe I agree with you. Maybe I completely agree with you. But I think the fact that we can imagine an 18 or 19-year-old who decides to show their body on the internet, as a form of viable employment, they decide to show their body on the internet, just like you could decide to start an e-commerce company or something. I think you'd have to say a little bit more. Affirmative, good to see you, bro. Good to see you, bro, person, whatever it is. Let's go, John. Everybody shout out John. John's moderating tonight. It's good to see John. Let's see. Random person. No, I cannot freestyle, by the way, John. You asked. I cannot freestyle. I do not have that ability. I don't have that ability. If you guys want, you can also check out the leaderboard. Let me just shout out a couple people. Person 90720, whoever's been here, has been here the longest in chatting. Archangel 1156, Affirmative 369. And then we got Radical Coder and that RPG guy showing up. That's what I can see on my phone. There might be a couple more. Who knows? Maybe there's not. Do something else. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Because I've never done OnlyFans. I wouldn't consider doing OnlyFans. But like, it's also really weird. Like, to do OnlyFans, do you have to know? Like, do you, and this is my maybe like a little bit of like actual autism brain. Do you have to know that there's like actually OnlyFans pimps in the world or whatever it is, PIMPs? Do you have to actually know that in order to sign up for OnlyFans? Is that something a person should know? If that's the case, like, it sounds like common sense to just say do something else, but that also doesn't sound like a moral argument to me. That to me sounds like we're just saying like, hey, I at least know about this place being a little dangerous. I at least know that. That's brutal. Random person. Is that a false equivocation? Is that, what type of equivocation is that? Don't take this the wrong way, but even a drug cartel helps the economy more than OnlyFans. I don't know. You can help the economy in a lot of different ways. You can help the economy in a lot of different ways, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I think drug cartels, when we look at the cost of incarceration, the cost of drug addiction, rehab treatment is really expensive. It can be as little as $10,000. Rehab can cost up to $30,000. That's not a weird number to hear. And so something that's like categorized as drug and alcohol addiction is considered much differently. And Radical Coder, who's maybe still in chat, I think I've heard him debate and talk about this in the past. I think he was on a panel with an OnlyFans creator who debated this for 2 hours. But like, that has nothing to do with anything. But like, yeah, you know, just the fact that cartels, just because you sell a lot of a product doesn't mean that product actually helps the economy. That's like the whole point of like demand side economics is I can study what people buy and see if this helps the macro economy. Do you guys know that word, demand side economics? Does anyone know what demand side or supply side economics is? I don't know if y'all do. I don't know if you need to, but oh shoot. Bam! Hype up that stream, baby. Shout out to John in the chat. Shout out to John, one of the best mods on YouTube. If you're just joining, smash that like, hit subscribe. We are having really exciting debates about morality, about the economics of OnlyFans, about the P. Diddy trial. We are going full big brain here tonight. Let's go, baby. Let's go. It's a party. I think it's a party. I think it's a party for everybody. We don't stop until the sun comes down. Let's go. Lasso that doggy. Lasso that dog here. Just wait for it to happen. Either one works fine. Let's go. Like and subscribe. Let's go, baby. Affirmative says, AI-generated models are now widely used on OnlyFans. Things are getting weird. Things are getting weird. That's so weird, right? You know, if you're talking about economics again, what you're actually talking about is you're at least talking about like, what's the legality? What's the legality of something like this? Are you able to own a character that produces adult entertainment? Yeah, you probably are. You probably are. You're probably able to copyright that character, and you can run a company with an AI-generated character. That's crazy. That isn't a silo either, though, right? That's the first thing you're going to find out, first or second. You know, if I create a character, you know, I call my character Vapey or something. Vapey the MAGA god. And I put Vapey on the Vapey on the front page of OnlyFans. I sink money into like premium ads or whatever. Is it also the case that if somebody sees that now like Vapey is Vapey or you know, like the Slumdog Millionaire, right? Whatever it is, you know, Tina the Bucktooth you know, trailer park fanatic or something. If I put these sort of images on OnlyFans and I'm attracting new creators and I'm saying, come sell your body for likes and images, do that for money and don't think about the actual aesthetics or whatever the professional monetary outcome is going to be. That don't think about the prestige. Don't think about anything except that, like, yeah, that's legal. You own the copyright to that character, but it's crazy. What up, Yordi64? I don't know who that question is to, but no, we do not kiss on this channel. This is a non-physical channel, sweetheart. Non-physical channel. Non-physical. We support people of all makes, shapes, and sizes. If y'all want to do OnlyFans, if you all want to talk about OnlyFans, debate OnlyFans, any of this stuff. John, I cannot do a backflip or front flip. My gosh. John is blowing this channel up. Ayo is right, dude. I cannot do a backflip, man. Can you do a backflip? Can you do a backflip? Random person says, well, how much do you want to bet that the baby oil industry went down a little bit? Dude, I don't even know what that thinks. I don't even know what that's about. Yeah. You know, That's a crazy opinion, though. This is not a crazy, but maybe some people are familiar with this. This isn't really academic philosophy, and so there's probably a good conversation, right? This is what a conversation is. But this is my question for you, chat. This is my question for all of you, and not as chat as whatever you, the person, thinks or whatever. But like, do you think that anyone makes choices in a society that are that outside of what society allows in the first place? I don't care if you believe it's subjective or objective. I don't care if you believe in Freudian subconscious psychology, right? LSD, sort of magic, magic school bus, whatever the F ever, none of that stuff. What I think, my opinion, my claim is that nobody can make a decision in society, be they a criminal, a convict, a drug dealer, that is that outside of what society already allows. And that is what the P. Diddy case actually proves. That's what the P. Diddy case actually proves in the first place. GH, good to see you. Good to see you. That is what the P. Diddy case proves in the first place. In my opinion, the P. Diddy case proves that people in a society, here's my argument. If you guys want a P. Diddy argument, here we go. We're not going to rehash this too much, but because P. Diddy hasn't even been sentenced yet. But okay, if society is the shoe, right? This is a worn Nike sneaker I got on sale or clearance or impulsively bought. It's a sneaker that I didn't need, but we have a Nike shoe here, right? We have a Nike shoe here. And if this is Hollywood, if this is all of Hollywood, this is music moguls, this is LA, this is all this stuff, right? The thing that people care and buy about this shoe is all of it, right? You can't take something out of the shoe. If you take the sole out, if you take the laces out, if you take the tongue out, you can't get into it. Your foot gets hurt. If you take the laces out, it's too loose and the shoe breaks faster than it has to. If you take out these funneled pieces, you have no protection, or your foot gets too hot and then something else breaks down, right? And so here's an amoral or moral anti-realist position about the choices people make in society. Maybe it's about subjective morality, is that look, if you guys can see this, these are actually shiny shoelaces. These are shiny shoelaces. And so while the moral signifiers on Fox News and on TMZ and over on Myron Gaines' side of things, the moral signifiers who proudly state I'm anti-PDF file, the moral signifiers who loudly state they want to be tough on crime, they want to be tough on illegal immigration, the moral signifiers, these are the same people that look the other way whenever they're looking at their own shoe. P. Diddy's got the full shoe, guys. I'm not defending him. I'm not saying that there aren't victims, but I'm saying if you look at society, if you say that a society exists where people either buy content and media from someone like P. Diddy or someone like Kanye, someone else, all of society is operating in this sort of dirty fashion. It's all this dirty fashion. Yeah. And so that's one argument about that might apply to OnlyFans as well. It's I can just say from the get-go, it's well, look, you're not doing Greta Thunberg any justice. You're not talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right? If you want to bounce on a trampoline and talk about Jeffrey Epstein and stuff like that, if you want to bounce on a trampoline and get really mad instead of actually looking at why society works a certain way, well, on OnlyFans, you can find the worst of the worst, and even the worst of the worst, however you describe that, still doing what everyone else does. Still doing what everyone else does. Yeah. How so? How does the P. Diddy case prove that? The P. Diddy case proves that. Yeah, and we can go into the details of the P. Diddy case. So in the P. Diddy case, if you're looking at why it's the case that Hollywood itself, that the music industry, and that P. Diddy's network themselves, his employees, should have been the ones that stopped this in the first place, and not the federal government. It's easy. Look, the entire federal government threw millions of dollars in resources to investigate and try P. Diddy. They spent millions of dollars to investigate and try this guy who did something really stupid that he shouldn't have done. He did something that he didn't need to do. He did something that was suboptimal, and he did something finally that was exploiting another person. He got exactly back what he put into it. P. Diddy did all this stuff wrong, and the federal government was right to try him. They're right to find him guilty on the 2 crimes that they did, each that carry a 10-year maximum sentence. They're absolutely right also at the end of the day and at the right time to if they acquitted him on 3 of the charges, if he was found not guilty on 3 of these charges, what does this actually say about the situation? Well, what it says about the situation is P. Diddy was in this adjacent situation. He was doing like a lot of other people were doing around this really nasty criminal enterprise sitting in the middle of LA. You know, he was sitting in this nasty thing that would travel to frickin' Los Angeles or to Austin, Texas, or wherever it was, to New York, right? He was sitting in this nasty thing that he could get on a plane and he could take this thing anywhere that he wanted to. It was crazy. And despite all this, you have no one in society stepping up and stopping him from doing it. Should you? I don't know. I don't actually know. Probably, yeah. But if we go back to OnlyFans, how is this about OnlyFans and Diddy and OnlyFans, right? Aren't there victims in this case? Absolutely there's victims in the case, but that's the whole point. The whole point is OnlyFans will create victims as well. OnlyFans will create some victims. It'll create some people that are economically and maybe in terms of ownership and their optionality for creating this sort of like more personal form of like intellectual property. OnlyFans is absolutely also in the wrong, but those people, I think, like, look, if I can get away with this argument saying that Diddy is like this shoe and he's like the specks on the shoelaces, he's like the shiny part, the worst part that people should have noticed and didn't. OnlyFans is not even like that. If you look at this shoe, my argument would be that, well, OnlyFans, if there's no objective moral stance, if everything is this subjective morality, OnlyFans at the worst is like what is it even? I don't even know. Maybe it's like some of these like suede pieces where, yeah, it's on all the way, but you know it might rise up in the future, right? I don't think as a social commentator, and I'm not trying to simp, I'm not trying to say I'm not into that, but like as a social commentator, I don't think I could say anything worse than that, right? If that's my bar, that's my bar. Whoops. Yeah, that's my bar for sure. Yeah. What else? What do you guys think? I think if you're going to consider the Diddy case and what happens next, I think if you're going to consider the fact that people spent like freaking, 3 years, like the last, like, whatever it is, 12 months of their time, not really actually thinking about the victims, but trying to entertain themselves with this BS. I think if people were going to go for decades and wonder why, red pill, the fragile men that actually have sex addiction or that look at pornography or something. I think if people were going to do this stuff, I think you got to take a step back. I don't think you're actually talking about American ethics. I don't think you're talking about values and philosophy like John Stuart Mill or Immanuel Kant would have talked about, right? I don't think you have to be able to do that. I think there's a different way of thinking about that question of problem. You can ask about the legality. Hey, what up, Robin Webster? How you doing? Robin, I'm just because I know you so well, I'm going to, I don't know if John's still here. John was here for a while. We had a mod in chat. I hope John's still here, but Robin Webster, don't feel compelled to stay or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the wrench. Robin's one of my good friends. She's involved with a couple of really awesome YouTube channels. She's always a really nice person. She's great to talk to about ethics, morality, success, all this other stuff. Yeah, I couldn't say enough about Robin Webster. I'm a fan. So what's up, chat? Go ahead, be nice to Robin. She tells you to do something, you do it. She doesn't tell you to do something. I don't know. Whatever. If she tells you to do something, then you, me, you, I, you are gonna do it for sure. Good point, affirmative. They should have had more collected evidence than before charging him. Yeah, well, he's still guilty of 2 crimes, though, too. P. Diddy still has victims. P. Diddy still got victims. What about them? And on the other side of that, P. Diddy's got victims that we talked around for frickin' months and months and months. I don't know, is that exploitative? What was the one? I saw some news story. I didn't want to do it right away. I kind of did. I didn't put J6, I didn't put January 6th in the title today, even though there was just another conviction today for people, for high treason, for trying to coordinate a conspiracy that would assault federal officers. I didn't put that in there. I think it's a little sketch. I'm not trying to be your moral daddy or whatever it is, but what I'm saying is that, yeah, okay, so I don't know. This stuff's also weird to me. I think it's my opinion that those issues are kind of hard to touch, hard to sort of tune, all that kind of stuff. I think it's hard to have a useful conversation around those things, is what most people call it. I love seeing that and doing that, though, right? I love being able to pin up somebody's message. I love if somebody comes and brings like a strong opinion. From Angel Wave, I disagree. I believe Diddy is the left shoe that got stuck outside because it stepped in crap and we had to wash it, so we noticed it. The rest of Hollywood is the unseen right shoe. The rest of Hollywood is the unseen right shoe. So we should have been harder on the guy. Maybe. It turns out the federal government is going to be as harsh as they possibly can. That is what happens once you get convicted of a crime. And a lot of times, based on the case law, based on legal representation, a lot of times someone like Diddy is going to get off fairly easily. Time served is what someone told me today. Time served is most likely what's going to happen. Time served. Are we even talking about the right thing, guys? Y'all got to correct me on this a little bit. Go ahead, press like and subscribe. Don't subscribe. Are we talking about the right thing? Holy crap. We should be talking about something else. Victims. Nobody forced anyone to take the money. I don't want to hear that. I heard about male and underage prostitutes. So I'm instantly thinking, because of my prior notions of knowledge and stuff of this stuff, I'm already thinking that we had to have been talking about freaking, who knows? Yeah, maybe it was a professional endeavor. Maybe that's why they didn't want to testify. But we knew drugs and alcohol were involved then. It's not unreasonable that any person should think they were involved otherwise. And personally, me, your buddy Duck, I'm not going to let a single person tell me otherwise. I'm not going to let one person walk into this chat and tell me that that the people that we were talking about were not victims here. They shouldn't have taken money to keep quiet. Yeah. Well, they're all stuck in New York now. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. All this information, all this knowledge is stuck in, I think it's New York's court system. P. Diddy's stuck in New York's court system. P. Diddy's stuck in, what do you call it? P. Diddy's stuck in TMZ hell. His victims don't have justice. P. Diddy maybe shouldn't have gotten off so easily, but Affirmative. I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds like you're talking about economics or incentives or something. I think we could talk about both, but like I don't know what you're talking about, which victims got what money. What about the victims of our, and if we're talking about monetary compensation, do you guys think that like indigenous people either in the US or in South Africa or Australia, do you think indigenous, right, indigenous people or victims of colonization, do you think those people get the same thing? What if somebody does a frivolous lawsuit? Are we talking about the same dollars and cents? Oh, you're Cherokee? Cool. That's cool. I'm in Arizona, so we've got some of the reses out here. There's a couple tribes. The Pima. Very cool. Super cool, super sick. Super cool and super sick. If you guys are just joining the stream, go ahead. Feel free to hop and chat, right? Everybody's welcome. Everybody's got a contribution. Kind of talking about, we're not trying to talk about the victims of the Diddy case, kind of talking about the punishment, kind of talking about, you know, kind of the civil or social sort of implications, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Talking about, we talked about the federal government biting off more than they could chew. When doesn't that happen, right? Legal ramifications. And you guys know I'm a big government guy, right? I know Robin's rolling her eyes, maybe. But sorry, Robin. I don't mean to be calling you up to the stage like all that. I think that's something that old people and Native Americans, Indigenous know, is that when somebody calls you by name, there's a responsibility that's involved. And if that responsibility isn't in line with what you've been doing, then you're talking about something new. You're talking about giving something over to a new person. And so what led to this? You know, we find this strange parody that can exist. What led to this predicament where we can't understand P. Diddy? What led to this predicament where we lose sight of what justice means? What brings us out of almost the stereotypes that exist? The stereotypes that exist where you have like this retreat environment, you know, the best form of peace that any person can have ever. You know, when you take that away from someone, there's so much pain and hardship that comes with that. Got Chickasaw, Choctaw, and I'm still white. Not sure how I was going with this. Cool. Oh, cool. Texas and Tucson. Nice. You do well in the deserts then. We've got the Sonoran Desert. Grew up on the border in Nogales. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So that's what we're talking about then. We're talking about little Native American heritage. I'm going to take a couple seconds. Just shout out. We still got Archangel, Affirmative, and Person on the top of the leaderboard. Thank you, everybody else who's joined and contributed in chat. If you guys want to play on that leaderboard, it's not that big of a deal. It's something YouTube does, right? Whatever. I notice those types of things because I like smartphones. But thank you to everyone that's contributing so far. You can say hi in chat if you want to. Just kind of hanging out right now. Having a chat. Yeah. Oh shoot, we got a libertarian in chat too. I gotta stand up. I gotta sit up. And so this is maybe why we've talked about OnlyFans in the political and moral context. We've only talked about it in one light so far. If you have a libertarian mindset, if you deeply value personal and individual sovereignty and autonomy, and you mean it like that, there is a very deeply political, at some point, a very deeply political idea about this, that not everyone holds that idea or belief. There's people that do believe that states like Utah and Texas have a right to legislate based on morality. There's some people that hold the belief that governments can do things for religious reasons. There is sometimes a deep-seated belief that we are, I am my brother's keeper. People say this type of thing. Historically, libertarians in the United States, if we go back to what it means to have low taxes, if we go back to what it means to have no more constitutional protections than allow for economic participation, libertarians on social issues have often sided with Democrats in the United States. We see this lots of places. A lot of times we see economic and social policy sort of mixing up the wires in parliamentary systems. Some people have said that in like the UK, this led to Brexit. You had these national Christian ties dominating a conversation, going over the top. People saying, well, it's our British Isle, I'm not a pirate, but this is my country in this way. Laddie, it's my country. It's been this way for some time, and it should have been. You're sorely going to be mistaken if you think it's anything other than that, too. You're never going to be the right way in the head about it. David O, what's up? Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, everybody. It's great to see y'all. It is great to see everybody. Let's go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome one, welcome all. I hope y'all had full belly today. I hope everybody had some good music, some good friendship, all this other stuff. Yeah, we've been talking about a few different things. We've been talking about some of the people in chat have been talking about their Indigenous heritage. We've been talking about P. Diddy, a little bit about OnlyFans. Yeah, I don't know. We're about to get into ideology. Anyone want to do political theory? No. Yeah, whatever. If you've got a topic, one of the things I'll do, just pin your stuff up. You don't have to stay. You don't have to hang out. Whatever is good for you is good for me. But yeah, if you have a topic, question, comment, I like bringing that stuff up. If you guys want to smash like and subscribe, it's always cool to have some people in chat or whatever. Whatever the point of all this is. Sick of politics right now. Robin says she's sick of politics. I don't know. Mismatched socks. My pet gerbil. My pet hamster. What else? What else? January 6th, that's still politics, isn't it? Rebels and rebellious groups. You guys want to talk about rebels? I didn't learn all that stuff. The CIA, you guys want to talk about missing uranium in Iran? You guys want to talk about updates? Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there is a large atheist organization doing protests in Kentucky this weekend. So if anyone is of the social media persuasion, it's probably good to know about. Who knows? That's how good conversations get started. That's how great conversations get started. Yeah. So I'm interested. There's going to be the event has a couple sponsors. but a couple of the large creators on YouTube, including Durante Lamar, Aaron Raw, Secular Rarity, a couple of those. Do I talk religion often? Yeah, sometimes on Discord and stuff. I don't have my own Discord, but when I'm on Discord, I talk about religion quite a bit. I'll debate religion. I'm always happy to bring it up here. The first couple days, I did some MAGA stuff the first couple times I went live. And so religion sort of naturally comes up. Sort of like a long-winded way of saying yes. Yeah. You know, we're going to punch through it a little bit. Yeah. Oh, the Kentucky Atheist. Yeah, he's very cool. He streams regularly. He's there for his audience. Robin, I don't know if you're on mobile or PC, but if you're on PC and want to drop a Kentucky Atheist YouTube link, it's for the few folks that are here. He's a cool one. Dark Matter 2525. I don't know him. I don't know him, her, whoever that is. Carl, good to see you. Good to see you, Carl. Carl! I don't know if y'all have seen The Walking Dead before. I don't know if you guys have seen The Walking Dead. It's an old show that was on AMC. It was a good one, I think. Yeah, but yeah. Carl from The Walking Dead. I'm not trying to make fun of you because of your username, obviously. Obviously, that's not the point, but Pink Floyd was a little bit before my time. Can you trust the government? What do you guys think, chat? We're not doing politics, then I'm going to trust Carl here. I'm going to suggest that we can go gratuitously around and talk about politics again. Yeah, I go deep into theology and politics. I'm always, yeah, I'm nutsack deep, bro. No offense, man. No offense, man. But when I'm putting things together in my head, though, in my head, I always think that, like, you know, you can just go, it's not in inches, but in terms of like a soul, it's like having a soft taco shell and a hard taco shell. It's like going both ways into it, man. To me, that's what deep means. Means you let it marinate for a while. We got a message held for a review. A bunch of Democratic whatevers. Donald, no offense, bro. Feel free to hang out. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate the honesty. We do have moderation automatically on YouTube. And so, no offense, man, but the Democrats are nutsack. Okay, see, the first half of that message is absolutely all right for me to say. You can insult the Democratic Party and Democrats as much as you want. That's your personal choice. I believe in that speech, and I still believe that we can have a conversation. No offense, bro, but I think that if life is a hard taco shell and a soft taco shell, if it's a double-decker, then my friend Donald, who hasn't even been able to show up, no offense, in chat yet, because he keeps violating terms of service and getting flagged. But Donald, no offense, bro. I think we can still have a conversation. Let's have a conversation, baby. Let's go. I love it. Y'all asking me to get out of bed. Can you trust the government? Can you trust the government? Is Pink Floyd right to ask that? I don't know what that song's about, and I don't want to embarrass myself. I was talking about this the other day. We're going to keep doing the talks about this the other day. When you get down into brass tacks, I think politicians can be trusted when they're out front with the community. I think you can develop the right amount of trust. I think you can develop a useful and pragmatic amount of trust. I think you can write history together. I think you can also talk about reality. You can talk about shared economic, political indicators, things about the health of rights, the health of institutions. I think a lot of Democrats are with the same sort of topic, dialogue, conversation. There's always Democrats that are going to be out there and Republicans that are going to be out there to support people. Robin Webster says Democrats suck and Republicans suck harder. In 2025, I might not totally disagree, but what I will say is that there's always a conversation on the table about how can you trust diplomacy coming from Washington? How do you manage the fact that our government recruits the most talented people in the world? Our government has people that can understand problems, as well as the top scientists at Google, at Harvard, at MIT. You have people that can explain this stuff. You have a network of information, whether your network, the one that you associate with, is Fox News, or if it's the Christian Science Monitor, or TBN, or maybe you love Rachel Maddow, maybe you love the new media, you love the work that other people are doing. I believe in all of you. I believe in all of us. I believe we can always have a conversation, but I am not going to trust. Whoops. Can you guys still hear me? Did I goof it up too much? Yeah, so what my form of argumentation here is that we should always be talking about the way in which government can support the needs of their people, and they can act in a just manner. So, somebody asks what rebels I was talking about earlier on my main channel. By the way, if you want to like and subscribe, feel free to do so. But yeah, we see places where like the DRC and Rwanda, and you have a group such as M23, the March 23rd movement, or the FDLR. You have these groups that sprung up from genocide and political oppression, and now basically act as mercenaries and black market dealers of illegal minerals. They act as a gang. They exploit people. They take over civilian areas. They want to be their own government, or they want the government to make concessions. And yet we see these groups of 10,000 people. Where did that come from, right? We see these groups of some rebel groups that go from 15,000 to 1,000 people over the course of a decade. You see our politicians were effective. You see whatever Washington and the international community was doing worked, because the number of violent people in a society, the number of people willing to use explicit violence to accomplish their goals, decreased from 15 to 1,000 people. How's that for politics? That's pretty good for politics. And then on the other side, we see groups that become more complex in the way they raise money. If you used to see a network that had maybe 4 or 5 core banking and illicit sources of income, and that deepens, and now you can map a organization toward 50 different special interest groups and large public corporations, 50 different sectors of civil society. You're not seeing this same decrease in numbers and people just buying AK-47s anymore. Now you're talking about a coordinated, non-state criminal enterprise that is operating politically. And so, yeah, I would think there's this mathematical reality about, if we talk about you can wake up and do the wrong thing right away. Well, it's sort of weird. Does society put a boundary on the number of illegal bank accounts a person can have? Does it put a number on the number of laws a person can break? Does it regulate how many firearms a person can own? The two-way stuff? Does it talk about the number of lives that a person can positively impact? The other way of it? Oh, shoot. That's always really strange and confusing to me. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna make Beyond Burgers into tacos later. Maybe I still will. That's my appetite. Yeah. Not anti-gun. Robin, we'll change your mind about that one day. I'm not anti-2A, but I'm anti-2A. I'm anti-2A. I don't think I'm ever going to be on YouTube defending like equal like totally equal. Oh, what up to Missouri too, by the way. What up to Missouri, bro? What's up to Missouri? So yeah, it's interesting when you look at the downward pressure on a country like the Democratic Republic of Congo or the downward pressure in Rwanda. There's you actually have comparative test cases, right? This isn't like coming from nowhere. It's not coming from nowhere. This is what I talked about on stream, and people can challenge me on this. But like in a place like Kenya, which is seen as a strong regional leader, we've seen the police, the national police, we've seen their security forces and army. We've seen these sort of develop more roundly. We've seen civil society and economic measures sort of come up with them. We've seen all of these forces. And when you're in a place like Congo or Rwanda, the West will say, well, what always happens is when you get revenue in from these resources, instead of being able to reinvest in institutions, you end up having to invest in security for non-democratic reasons. There's not, in one case, when we have to be able to describe democracy and liberalism through praxis, through the equal evolution of what a society eventually becomes like. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but if we don't see that, then that necessarily causes a problem for everyone. That's a problem. And so we see pressure being able to be applied on the level of tribal politics, on the level of economy, on the level of both free market and state-led decisions. We see that being able to be exerted across borders. So Rwanda will accuse DRC of exploiting their mineral wealth to compete. They're not using this for liberalization. They're not playing the right game. And DRC will say that, well, Rwanda is fueling the complexity of a rebel organization like M23. Le Marche des Mondes 23rd, Le Marseille 23rd, whatever it's called in French, right? So this colonial legacy or something is something to be picked up upon, something to be aware of. Yeah, wild animals. I'm just gonna interject in y'all's conversation because there's my chat room. There's my chat room. No offense to y'all. No offense, but I thought that was mine. That's one of the nice parts about the softer parts of society. The softer parts in any society, if I do a little bit in the New Jersey, why certainly, But if you go to any society and you see things are working, and people aren't saying this is working because the government's got to do it. People aren't saying this is working even because everybody voted for it, but it's just working because it's working, and there's only a handful of things that are right or correct. Well, then somebody like me has got to say, well, look, the most important or exciting part about this is the fact that we're living like normal people finally. The most important or exciting part is that, look, I can accomplish a couple of my goals in such a casual way. That's crazy. And if you're talking to one of these yahoos like myself, who's on the environmental left, then the next thing that you do and see is, well, here's the really bad funny part. Here's the really bad, the really scary part is you say, well, look, we talk about the society working in the first place, but then you never actually connect the things that you're doing in your day-to-day that are working to the things that are working in the big scheme of things. If the things in the big scheme of things aren't working, but you're working, then who's that being taken from? Who's that coming from? And I got one idea about this. If I look to the political science textbooks, what they say is, well, American imperialism. America is an empire. America's always stealing from everybody else. But the other side of it, the other side of the American empire is that, well, who's actually doing the stealing? You don't see it anywhere. You never see it. That's the part that would drive me the most insane. If I was like a pit boss in the mafia or at a casino, I'm trying to regulate the tapes. I'm not only doing that, but I'm like, to be honest, I'm looking out for the casino itself. I'm saying that whoever comes up to a craps or roulette table, if you're going to go negotiate with the United Nations, if you're going to go negotiate with the president of another company, if you're going to go negotiate and really take your job fully seriously as much as possible, you're going to have the best time ever, right? You know, welcome to Vegas, baby. You're going to have the best time here. We're all going to have a good time, and that is so the guests have a good time and so the guests spend money. But if you have this mindset in the first place and you're saying, well, who's best for me? You're sort of depending on people to force you to say, you're not an empire, but in a democracy, you're forcing on people to tell you to say, I don't just get a computer. I got more than a computer. I got a full roulette table. I got a full high roller poker high stakes table. That's what's actually at stakes in international politics. That's what's actually at stake there. And so you get these other guys in the room then you get these other guys in the room who said, yeah, you know, this is what we've been saying. We've been saying that it's all about how much energy or time you consume. It's all about, yeah, you know, you got to put out things like USAID. You got to support groups like UNRWA. You got to support these groups that are supporting the refugees and the poor kids. You got to be doing all this other stuff. But then by the time I get done talking, and then for the other guy, by the time I get done actually seeing what's driving results, when you have both of these in the same room at once, what happens? Well, when did you actually take the time to ask about how other people understand the issue? Can you trust Washington to do that? If Washington doesn't do this, and what we're talking about is finally economics, we're finally talking about political economy. It doesn't have to be that mysterious. You know, you're talking about what's good for me and what's good for you. And when times are good, when we're not running games and that's the only way to see what we're doing with each other, when we're not having security institutions like the CIA, like the NSA, right? The NSA shouldn't be doing anything, but when you have the CIA or the US Department of Defense or our ambassadors to any country doing more than just running games with each other, and we can trust other people to do that, well, is the United States still an empire in that case? How do you not trust the government? How do you not trust the government? Or how do you trust the government to do all that? I don't see it. I don't believe any of it. I think the economics of it, if you think about the economics of freedom and of choice, the economics of freedom and choice are actually about a number of things that aren't just economic products. The economics of choice seem like they're about a stable scheme, right? This sounds very British, you know? In a new row from the British government, a scheme that was supposed to lift millions out of poverty ended up in fact stealing millions of pounds from the royal treasury. You hate hearing about these because these aren't about schemes or plans or ordinary things. They're about making promises and not following through on them. I don't know what I'm talking about or what I'm saying. I'm sick of politics. That's what everybody says. I'm sick of politics. I am so sick of politics. Hold on to the nuclear football long enough, right? That's what it comes down to. What about that view? What are you going to do when all the oil's gone? Did you earn that conversation yet? Do you have any way to talk about any of the levers that are in there? You know? How about this? How about to both MAGA and Democrats in the chat? If you're not actually working day in and day out to have that conversation, how about you get bent, right? Are we allowed to say that on YouTube? I'm not talking to anyone specifically, but if you're a MAGA or Democrat and we already have preconceived notions about what our society can do, if we have a notion about what if we can trust the government or not, but you don't actually have a way to talk about that, why can't I say, how about you go fuck yourself? Get the fuck off my channel. Get out of chat. I don't actually mean that, right? I want to be able to hang out and talk about Diddy. I want to be able to talk about the stuff we talk about. How about that? How about a little bit of honesty? Who's the most honest person in Washington? Some people said that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were the most honest people in Washington. They're the only ones that were nuanced and good enough communicators to talk around issues. I know Republicans would say, well, John, some Republicans, Donald. Hey, Donald, no worries, bro. We're still on the same thing. I don't say that word. I think I'm the one that's allowed to swear. You can try, you can say F you, F this, F that, all this other stuff. I don't mind. But yeah, all this other stuff, we're not going to violate TOS here. How about that for a good one, right? How about it? This is what seems to happen. I even want people that think we're having the wrong conversation. Our facts about the world are wrong. We are either not talking about a high enough mountain or we're talking about too high of a mountain. We've been told too many times that we're not allowed to be in the room for the right conversation. We've been told that if you have a bad man, orange man, bad like Trump, Obama isn't from the United States, we're told we're never allowed to listen to either of them. Shame on you. Shame on that. Shame on you. Let me know how I got this wrong. Heather Cox Richardson's a great example of someone who has slow conversations. Robin, great shout out. How about that? How about the people that have been working to facilitate conversations and dialogue? How about the people who have been spending their time clearing the roadway, right? Clearing the roadway. You build it, if your highway, in terms of conversation, not giving people what they ask for immediately, not giving what people want, but always talking about what people need. If that roadway isn't big enough to have that conversation, you build a freaking 3-lane highway. You build a 7-lane highway for that. You go to California, you go to Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, everything's bigger in California. If it's not shiny enough to attract people, you make it shiny. It becomes attractive. Let's go. I don't care where you're from in the United States. I don't care where you're from in the world. I know that while I'm here on YouTube, I've got people on Discord I talk to that are from India, that are from Bangladesh, that are from Canada, that are from Egypt, that are from Turkey, that are from Israel, that are from the UK, that are from Germany. I've got people that are from Central America, Latin America. I got people everywhere I go that have a different worldview and a different way to see this conversation. And at the end of the day, when I get inspired, when I get my, I know I look like nothing could change this sort of mess you see in front of you, but when my hair blows back, when I have a moment of realization, even when I'm not at a point where I can have that realization yet, but when I'm at the point to actually help my society, help my community, stuff like that, it's always because there was a conversation in the first place. Together we can do anything, can't we? Together we can do anything. So who are the leaders here, right? I don't want to turn this into a Westboro Baptist cult meeting. I don't want to turn this into some atheist or some frickin' Scientologist cult meeting, but who are the actual leaders here? When do you lead in your life? Answer me that. Riddle me that for a second. If we talk about not being able to trust the government or wanting to trust the government or having these cases internationally and geopolitically where peace in Palestine, this is so compelling, right? This is so compelling. Peace in Central Africa, peace in the Sahel, better relations with our neighbors in Canada and the US, justice for the Indigenous, and prosperity in Australia and South Africa. All these buzzwords that you want, but guess what you can't take out of the room? You can look at me and I will admit, I will say your buddy Duck is full of it. I am absolutely full of myself. I got to get my reading glasses back on even. I don't know enough. I don't have enough connections in the world to say or do anything about any of this stuff. I can think about it. I can commit my time and energy towards thinking about this stuff. And that is the most I feel I can sometimes offer. When we are not in person, when we are not working together to create a resolution, when we are not finding leaders in our local communities, that is sometimes the best that we have. The best that we have is that sense of optimism and the belief that we're going to be able to go out together and hold on to a better strategy than yesterday, to alleviate suffering, to give someone optimism, to brighten up somebody's day, to find those much smaller moments of hope. You guys want to talk to me about a moment of hope? Let's go. We got a message down here. Yeah, Angel Wave. No problem with that message. Just from my perspective, I know some people have political beliefs about gender and all this other stuff. Again, it's no offense, no problem with that stuff, right? So the one thing is that, you know, YouTube, I know Rob Norris' channel, I think, just got taken down, or he got a strike on it or something. And it is for a good reason, right? You know, when we're talking about misgendering someone, and so, like, here's a way to do that, right? There was just a news story today about a trans female cyclist who won a cycling race, and people on Fox News are now talking about this, right? It's going to be USA National Cycling is going to have a big story about it. So if you have an opinion and we can have a good faith discussion about it, and that's you think that, you know, your best work would be posting a link. I know that we've talked a lot more than that personally, but just for everyone else here, feel free to go on and post a link to a news story or to comment on that news story. We can talk about it. But where was I going? I was talking about hope and optimism, right? Hold on to that hope and optimism. Hold on to it when it's about something like moral philosophy or politics. That sounds so strange. I should think that we've got actual rocket scientists and neuroscientists. I should think that there's a coalition and really no bias towards blue collar and white collar workers when there is an international problem on the line. I should think that we're going and poring over the actual politics, and we're really deeply thinking about our circumstances, the United States, in order to affect change. I should think that. I should think like that. I should think that we have space for an innovative leader to rise up and to spot people's unique leadership traits. And by doing so, they're able to place a solution that fits for the time that we're at. We're able to temper our expectations just a little bit. Just a little bit. But again, we're not trying to turn this into a Westboro Baptist Church cult meeting. We're trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, as some would say, and we're going to talk about piecemeal solutions. We're going to talk about piecemeal moral judgments. We're going to talk about piecemeal philosophy. We're going to talk about piecemeal political philosophy. We're going to talk about piecemeal actions that maybe a leader like Donald Trump still can take in the next 3 years. We're going to talk about piecemeal solutions that Barack Obama and Joe Biden did incredibly successfully. Maybe we will talk about large injustices, but if we don't talk about the details, shame on us. Shame on me, first of all, right? You guys are just here for it. By the way, if you're just joining, good to see you. Feel free to say hi in chat. Like and subscribe if you want, but we're going to be talking. Do you like Zohran Mamdani? I think so. Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic Socialist candidate for mayor of New York. And New York is a city with a GDP. It's a city that is almost as large and larger than many sovereign states around the world. I think Zohran Mamdani, I'll say the thing that I like about him is that he brought a comprehensive platform. The thing I don't like about him is, even though I am progressive, I don't believe all of the things he's brought up are feasible or helpful. I don't believe talking about even like privatized food distribution is a good thing. It's interesting he's considering how like the city of New York can counteract some of the, maybe like with the big beautiful bill passing, we're going to have lower food SNAP benefits, Medicare and Medicaid. These things might sort of reduce in stature. And so does a mayor have a responsibility to ensure food security for, you know, his voters, his or her, their voters? Maybe they do. Maybe. It seems like he could have gone through and had a conversation with the private sector and talked about that more, right? I want to hear about that, right? Maybe you're saying I'm living in the past. Maybe you're saying I'm too skeptical. Maybe you're saying that I am just repeating talking points. That's fine. Maybe it's all AI. Maybe it's not. Maybe the only thing I'm trying to say here about Zoran Mamdani, and I'd love to hear what you think, is that if you're going to come out with a baseball bat and take a big swing right away, if you're going to picture the government as this practical acting mechanism, and you're going to tell me about that, right? I'm a voter based on practice, baby, on practice and praxis. Oh, we vote based on praxis. That's the wrong voice for right now. Yeah, we're out here looking at creating history, right? We're out here looking and actually trying to figure out a way that, all the conversations that we can put together lead to a policy that actually helps people, that alleviates this food insecurity, that alleviates poverty. And so at least in this one way, if I was going to answer a question about Zoran Mamdani, then what I would say is that, I don't totally believe it. I just pinned up someone else's comment, and I think this is a great point. This is directly in line with how I'm thinking about this. Maybe we totally disagree, but if I'm thinking about how New York actually operates, New York has an enormous responsibility, right? They have to maintain, okay, maybe they have to innovate on infrastructure and bus lines right now, right? That's one of the things they're talking about as far as welfare. We have public transport, right? You're not going to go hungry. There's a lot of organizations and organization behind this. And now we're going to get accused for the next 8 years, right? Now I'm helping Mamdani, but we're going to get accused if we get elected for the next 4 or 8 years of being corrupt and misappropriating funds, about not having fair bid processes, even if we're using all of the correct standards and procedures and organizations to do this. So yeah, is Zoran Mamdani corrupt? Why don't we have that conversation? Give the guy a chance, right? What do you guys think? Do you think if you're running as a socialist in the United States, you're automatically instantly corrupt? No, but I think in New York City, I think in a place like New York City, where you do see a massive tax base. You see a massive tax base. You see large groups of educated voters. You see people that understand and know New York politics. You see people that have followed and have seen everything Washington has to offer. This creates those conditions where we can see cities like Los Angeles or New York City, maybe like Philadelphia, maybe like Phoenix, some of these larger cities like Chicago, you can see people breaking away and making effective political decisions. Maybe you have to do that. Let's see, we got I just timed someone out in chat. It was a blocked moderated message. No offense. I want you to be able to hang out. It's a 5-minute timeout. But yeah, let's try and reel some of the TOS language in. And again, you're allowed to have strong opinions here. You're allowed to think like a Democrat, a Republican. You're allowed to think like Donald Trump, like MAGA. You're allowed to think like Karl Marx. You're allowed to think like Zoran Mamdani. You're allowed to think like all these people. But please, 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 and all this other stuff, come in and try and just think about, whatever. If you're thinking about it and I can do anything to help the conversation along, right? That's good. Rockstars Skolas, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Good to see you. Fighting the corruption of the ruling class is a core tenet of socialism. All right. I see you. I think that's cool. If we got a couple socialists in chat, or we've got people that are interested in that stuff, I think that's cool. Who has the incentive, says Benoodle. Good to see you as well, by the way. Also, Robin Webster, our amazing moderator here. She's royalty a couple places. I won't share where, but if y'all want to say what's up to Robin, she's been amazingly helpful. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's personable, good to talk to, all that stuff. all that stuff. So thank you for tuning in. Yeah, what do you think? What about incentives? Economics again. We're talking about economics. It's always funny, here's a question maybe to both folks that support Mamdani and socialism. Here's also a question to folks that support liberal welfare like we have in the United States. Here's also a question for people who are small government and low taxes. What are the dollars and cents? What are the economics, the actual capital required to remain optimistic about a new government spending and benefits program? I'm not trying to overwhelm your brain, but if we are talking about something that you could imagine AOC or Bernie Sanders say, what would it take for Arizona's governor is Doug Ducey, or he was, what does it take for a conservative politician who supports market-based solutions, supports that sort of supply side incentives, is always very skeptical and quick to judge about hey, are you just lying to me? It's a good question, right? Incentives, yeah, I understand the human values on the one hand. If we're relating the psychology of these ideas, I understand on the one hand how we almost have to consider that someone like AOC or Mamdani might be deeply believable as someone who wants to help people and support people. They might be. But it also might be the case that when we're talking about the actual incentive structure and why they did something, Eric Adams in New York, by the way, I'll talk about that in a second. It also might be the case that the incentive structure just isn't there, or it is there, but it's not politically viable. There's other values we should have talked about. How do you do that? How do you do that? Politically, what's the actual right answer? What's that coalition look like? What's the timing for that? If you're running a PR campaign for someone like Zohran Mamdani, in the same way Steve Bannon led Donald Trump's campaign, if you want to double down on hard questions for people to answer, or if you want to ask the hard questions yourself to give people an easier way to understand something, the numbers of it, right? Mamdani's grocery stores can provide a meal for $3 a day for someone. What's the free market corollary? Is that compelling enough for people to change their mind about this? When does that narrative drop? When does MAGA have a response for that? When does the Republican running in that race have to start standing up and saying, look, you're talking about angels on pinheads. I am once again asking for your support. Whatever it is. Chris, Eric Adams was charged with corruption. Yeah, I think the charges were dropped. He was charged, if I'm correct. And I hope I'm not mixing up my story. I think we're talking about a city with a $1.2 trillion GDP, very large budget and bill. And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Turkey. Was it Turkey? The country of Turkey? Sorry if I'm mixing up my facts. Someone can correct me in chat for sure. But if I recall correctly, there was a scheme that seemed to be on the up and up. And this was the confusion. Was that it looked like there was a federal prosecutor who didn't totally understand the investigation and the criteria to charge Eric Adams with corruption. And so some very small scale sort of tax incentive that is common or something like this for people that do business in New York, because New York can decide some of this stuff, was decided. Yeah. So this is always a question. It's not to just for my really nerdy theory folks, just for a second. Is New York a city state? Does New York have sovereign authority in the way that a country does? Some people say no, but organically, when you have 10 million people living in such small areas, and even more sometimes, you start seeing that the capabilities, typically offered in a country the size of the United States, in a country the size of the United States, you start seeing these same types of relationships for business, for politics, for lifting people up out of the lower class. We start seeing these nation state level activities. And so, yeah, If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, feel free. You don't have to. All that other stuff, obviously. Well, Chris, thank you for being honest in chat. I always appreciate that. I always appreciate a fierce debate and competitor. Let me just go ahead and throw Chris up on stage. Real quick, your comment, Chris. Thank you for being honest. Also, thank you for keeping the city of New York and Eric Adams honest. I do believe we should have transparency when there are charges of this gravity and seriousness. Whoever's smashing those heart buttons, thank you so much. I don't know if that's for me or if that's for chat, but we are all very appreciative. We love that. It's a party here. There's so much love. There's so much love. We got to get moving on. Let's go, baby. Also, huge shout out. If you guys see on the top of the chat, there is a top fans list. These are folks that have been hanging out in chat, contributing to the conversation, dialoguing with one another. If you're just new here, feel free to drop in, say hello in chat. We've been talking politics after someone said, I'm so sick of talking politics. I am so sick of talking politics, dude. I'm so sick of it. And then we get on to Marx and socialism. That's crazy. That's crazy. What about this, guys? You guys want to talk about Jean-Jacques Rousseau? No, we don't do theory on this channel. We are dialoguing, baby. We are going all night dialoguing. At least a little bit longer, right? Foxhound says, I hate politics. Let's go, baby. What do you think about Diddy? You think Diddy's getting off scot-free? Nah, I'm just kidding. Slap that politics button, baby. Slap that politics button. Viralize this. Good to see you. Viralize this. Hello as well. This says politics is toxic and cringe. Let's just live and let live. Respect the laws to love each other with racist jokes like we used to. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Okay. Very funny. Super hilarious. Let's just reignite, live and let live, as well as otherize and exclude people from the conversation. I love conversations, though. That's my big thing. You know, who was it? Heath Ledger in Batman. You know, I just can't get this bat out of my head. I can't really do the voice that well. I might just be tired. The Batman. Nah, let's slap Heath Ledger and Joker out of here. Let's slap politics out of here. Let's get to, I know what this is missing. I know why the political energy is low is because we do not have the MAGA folks here raising up a ruckus. This is where I think dialogue and hope and optimism is helpful. This is why I support Zohran Mamdani. This is why I support liberal politics in the United States. As I trust and believe that people who voted for MAGA have reasons to believe Donald Trump would have been an effective leader. They have reasons and maybe not evidence that Donald Trump would be an effective leader. I might disagree with you, right? I might say that I don't believe there are reasons or evidence that Donald Trump would be an effective leader. I think we can actually talk about how normal people live their lives and view the world, make decisions, and I can pretty confidently say, you know, not really fishing to say that there's no Donald Trump dialogue on the table. But I also think that if you are one of those people, you are one of those savages who voted for Donald Trump. You might vote for him again. Maybe you made up your mind that you and your mama, your daddy, your brother, your cousin, your sister, your father, all those folks, you got a daddy and a father. All those folks might vote for Donald Trump and vote for Donald Trump in the future. I also believe you know how to have a pretty darn good conversation. I don't think you need a six-pack of silver bullets. I don't think you need a Rockstar energy drink. I don't think you need to be sitting across from Benjamin Franklin or Barack Obama, Harvard lawyer, or anyone else. I think you know how to have a conversation about something like free groceries in New York. So I support Zohran Mamdani because I want everyone to be able to tell me I'm right or wrong. Maybe I am in the center. Maybe I don't have an actual, me, Duck, personally, I don't have a personal belief, by the way, in politics one way or another. Not always. But if I do, I want people to be able to tell me why I'm wrong. That's why I want people that voted for Donald Trump to tell me those things. Tell me about the economics that we're facing, right? What's the rabbit hole we're going down? If you don't want to talk about the economics, why don't you talk about the morality of it? Why don't you talk about the efficacy, the safety of it? I want all those conversations, and I want someone like Zoran Mamdani to see the best the United States has to offer. If you're going to step up in New York City, you're going to step up in New York City, and now you're going to tell the American people, I've got this omnibus package that is going to literally be a bus. It's literally going to take people from A to B, and it's also going to take America from A to B. Ain't that policy writing, right? When you have an omnibus that is a bus and you're going from A to B to go to A to B, baby doll, that is so good. That is so good. You are not missing the theories of Karl Marx. You're not missing the theories of Joseph Schumpeter. You're not missing the theories of David Ricardo. You're not missing the theories of Adam Smith. You're not missing the theories of our founding fathers. And you are not missing the theories of the quiet minority, the quiet majority that have not weighed in on the most efficient way to progress our country into the future. Maybe it's the same old shtick. Maybe you think I shouldn't be taking the oomph out of the fact that we can have a conservative mindset. Maybe I think that. Patriot 1488, good to see you. Want to debate a Nazi? Not really. Not particularly. I know blood sport spaces on the internet that do those types of things, but we are not on Discord. We are on YouTube Live. We've got some joy, some optimism, some hope. I sincerely hope that people following a extremist ideology can find peace and joy, and they do feel peace and joy, even if you are basing your worldview on a position of hatred. Good to see you, everyone. Legion Commander, what's up? Legion Commander, good to see you. I am talking to myself, bro. I'm talking to myself, and I haven't shaved in 5 years. I hope y'all are doing good. We are talking democratic politics. We are talking Republican politics. We were talking about rebels operating out of Rwanda and Congo. Geopolitics, economics, moral philosophy. We've got OnlyFans in the title. If you've got a strong opinion, feel free to. I will try and find a great message to bring up on screen if you have something you want to talk about. If you are new here, welcome. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'm so happy that you've decided to join us for, even if it's 30 seconds, I'm happy to have you here. Mystical Misfit, I don't know if I said hi to you, but what's up? Good to see you. It's good to see you. No AI restrictions is bad. Palantir is bad. These fake presidents all are just masks, frontmen for the technocratic agenda, which is to communism. So all AI restriction is bad, meaning that automated fast computers make us mad, bad, and sad. It's tragic. It's tragically bad. It's a dilapidated fad. I'm a trad cath. I deconverted back before I had my holy bath. Talking about baptism, maybe I have autism. That's the reason I deconverted from Roman Catholicism. That's the schism. And I ain't talking a tool. Palantir goes to law enforcement so you don't have to go to law school. That isn't cool. But if you went to law school, wouldn't you be the fool if you didn't talk to the judge to get the no-knock warrant? That's abhorrent. It's also important. That's an awesome message, man. Yeah, Palantir and Peter Thiel have a long history of chasing 100x results, 1000x results in tech. They say 10x to throw you off. And so when you see someone that, like Lucky Palmer, who's now opening a cryptocurrency bank, Lucky Palmer, who has spent a decade at Meta, a decade on his own ventures, and now is going to spend the next decade on crypto banking. A lot of these people have deep social level convictions about things. And so that's an argument. I'd love to hear someone respond. Why can we not have, or we do have, a democratic socialist running in New York? And yet, on a really deep philosophical level, you have to stand up for the fact that we have venture capitalists deciding the future of our country. Isn't that sort of weird? What's the principle there, right? Let's be honest with each other. What's the principle? Why would we actually say that? Is it just your subjective opinion we don't do that? Legion. Starting to think this guy needs meds, baby. My political ideology, I don't know. I've got one of the great liberals here, only one. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny if you want me to be the crazy person. All you had to do was ask. Just send the bat. Yes. So I've got Jean-Jacques Rousseau here. I am a traditional liberal. I believe in individual rights and freedoms more than a lot of stuff. People can accuse me of putting too much on the individual's ability to be social and stuff like that, but that's usually where I come from. That's usually what I do. Also, thank you. Duck is a poet and didn't know it. Robin Webster, thank you. If y'all want to say shout out Robin Webster, Ahmad doing a great job in chat. Johnny Carson. I don't know Johnny Carson, dude. Why? Yeah, those daytime talk show hosts, like even like Jay Leno used to be, you know, so when I was growing up, like Jay Leno, because I'm 35, I'm a millennial, so like Jay Leno, David Letterman, some of the older like Steve Carell and Jon Stewart, those were guys that I grew up with, especially when I got to college. Like I loved watching the Today Show before Trevor Noah. Yeah, but you know, while I was at school, this is interesting. I always followed a lot of like these comedians, kind of these circles, musicians that tend to be a little more liberal. But at school, I was also learning about like Francis Fukuyama and the end of history, right? You know, so you have with Francis Fukuyama wrote a very famous essay. It's still taught in universities. It's still talked about by top diplomats around. What's happening? Whoops. Can you guys see me? My phone turned off for just a second. So so while I was at school, I was learning about, you know, how economics and capitalism influences the world in a positive way. And the principle of this is that, well, okay, here's my argument and here's my ideology. It took a long time to get to, but okay, if people are rational and competitive decision makers, and I say something like, I say something like, even to understand the shoe, I need to know what it's made of, how much it costs. I need to know what it's for, why people make a decision to buy something like this. I need to know about I make a rational judgment about the ethics or morality of making like a Nike racing shoe. Also, if there's any distance runners, cross-country folks, sprinters in chat, shout out to you. Guess which one I look more like? I don't know, maybe neither, but shout out to you for sure. So if I'm sharing my ideology in politics, you know, I personally believe that that people think deeply about their own needs and other people's needs. People think deeply about their impact, and so that's why I believe in individuals. That's part of why I'm trying to grow this channel. If you guys want to like and subscribe, that helps me out a ton. If you just want to say hi in chat or don't want to do any of that, that also helps me out a ton. Thank you for being here. Honestly, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting whoever it is you support, directly or indirectly. But the reason I believe in conversations and dialogue and individuals is because I think we consider things so rationally and deeply. I believe in the power of information. I believe in the power of contributing to that which helps you grow. And that is one of the most important things to me. Yeah, absolutely. So that was a great question. Bro is on drugs. We wanted, nah, dude. You're even skirting the TOS right now. No offense. I don't know if that's, but no. I wouldn't, yeah, who cares, right? So a liberal and not a progressive. Yeah, Legion. So okay, I'm going to read the second message in just a second, but you ask, so I'm a liberal and not a progressive. Yeah, I typically vote for progressive policies because if I describe it, I don't care how competitive you think you are or who you vote for. You know, if you use your big old brain, I think that when we put welfare on top of a society, that society is more peaceful, it's less violent. And usually what we're actually talking about is ensuring that kids get the education they need. We're talking about people having the food they need to sustain themselves. And if you want to do more or less than that, if you really want to be that guy, you're interested in learning something, I think the sort of core secret is you push it and you do it yourself, but you don't take away from other people. That's my progressive politics there, Legion. A conversation goes two ways, also says Legion Commander. This is just you ranting on tangents that have nothing to do with chat. Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things I want to do here is if I'm able to go on a soliloquy and someone hears like 10 seconds of something useful, and that's, no offense, people get value from Jake Paul and stuff like that too, Logan Paul, whoever it is. I've got OnlyFans in the freaking title. I was planning on debating morality about OnlyFans here. I was planning on dating and talking about OnlyFans here, right? So Legion, if I am first talking about a conversation itself as the thing that is providing hope, optimism, that is providing people a platform to understand why you trust your government or why you don't trust your government, like what am I confused about? Like, that's what I don't understand. And I want to be confused in a way that helps us talk about something like practical and real world. No offense, bro, but we're like a double-decker taco right now, man. It's total gnar, man. I'm the hard shell, you're the soft shell, or the other way around. Maybe I'm like a super good masa tortilla. You know that feeling, though? Did you know that you can panko bread, avocado, and deep fry it, man? Have you ever had a deep fried vegan taco? Thank you. Random person 907. I think you're talking about me. Leave the poor guy alone. He's doing his best. We all are. Aren't we all? Yes, definitely, dude. Definitely dude person, folks. Whoever it is, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mystical Misfit says, slow down. Yep. Yeah, it's his channel. Okay. I'm going to go off of myself, dude. Myself. I just get a little crazy and nuts. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know anything. I swear to goodness, I was just trying to put the round peg in the round hole. I was looking all the way up to Hoboken, New Jersey to do it. I couldn't find it. It was about absolutely nothing. It was about nothing. Whew. Wow. Wow. I was looking around for the casino manager to tell him that somebody was hitting it big, and he didn't even know that he had won anything yet. He had just ordered an iced tea from the bar. I found out that he voted for Barack Obama. This was all just good karma. You vote for the first black president, and the universe doesn't forget. The universe doesn't forget. Thank you, Robin. Legion Commander. I don't know if you are my normie friend. Normie, non-normie friend, it's all good. You can say whatever you want, but you can do better than that. There's our two versions of that. If you are being mean, that's mean. If you can do better than that, you can do better than that. I don't need to push you to do better than that. What conversation does that come from? Who do you need, buddy? And we are not going to over-focus in either case. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for joining in. Legion Commander has contributed more to this conversation than anyone else. Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby. And I want to know that person. Sometimes, okay, so here's an interesting one. And this is actually interesting. So if we're talking about people being mean in the US and politics, and I'm cycling through my hats, by the way, right now. If somebody is talking about someone who was mean to someone else, part of being nice to someone is having clarity. It's having clarity. And this is also about expectations. I don't mean to sound like too much of a Buddhist or too much of anything, right? But I would bet you that if you saw a guy totally more manly than me, like Sean Ryan, who's a Navy SEAL, CIA operator, Navy SEAL operator, Special Forces operator. Jocko Willenick, same deal. Didn't do intelligence ever, but who knows? Maybe he probably knows something about security and stuff like that. You don't have to tell another person, even if maybe you're the biggest, BA in the room or something. But if you can get clarity on a small point that someone wants to get across and understand it, that's better than getting nothing out of it. That's better than getting nothing out of it. And so sometimes being mean to people, some people treat that as a way to get down to the core of an issue. Sometimes it does help both people if you say something a little bit mean, but just be careful if you're talking over somebody, and you are not using that opportunity to clarify the relationship, clarify the way that we're discussing something serious like politics in the United States or anywhere. You're not using that to build trust, then you're breaking that trust. You're breaking that bond. Oops. Operation Mockingbird. No, I know Katniss, I think. Katniss is one of them things. Katniss. What do you know about Katniss? Katniss and dogness. Katniss, dogness, gorillaness, snakeness. What's snakeness? I don't know. I don't actually remember anymore. Pigeonness, birdness. Y'all know about Operation Birdness? That's what he asked about. I don't know any of that. Operation Cat Piss. Operation Sauvignon Blanc. Operation Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris, if you're just joining, welcome to the stream. Thank you to everyone who has been watching. I appreciate you considering spending a couple minutes with me here and with the awesome chat, with the awesome Robin Webster moderating in chat. Robin, you've been an angel, an absolute godsend today. I appreciate you. Operation Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Oh, wow. Yeah. We were talking about mutually assured destruction, deterrence theory. One subset of deterrence theory, perhaps the most important, is both the confidence that a nuclear strike would result in the absolute destruction of anything around us, as well as the confidence that someone would be willing to do that. Because if someone is not willing to use a nuclear weapon, if you cannot find the reason or cause for that, then that also means that you cannot be certain that any nuclear strike would result in mutually assured destruction. And so typically the way you learn about this is, well, we have a platform here, right? If this book is mutually assured destruction, you just put deterrence theory on top of it. I hope that's useful. It can tilt either way, and that's fine. You can still maybe go to war with each other. You can still maybe go to war through proxies, which is historically what's happened. In the Cold War, while we were not in dialogue with the Soviet Union immediately, we were often funding and fighting for democratic playgrounds. Very brutal, painful truth. So you see an illegal campaign in Laos and Cambodia. You see a formal war in Vietnam. You see proxy wars across Africa. You see decolonization into democratization, into other state-led efforts to build wealth, build security, all these crazy things. And in this case, when we're talking about mutually assured destruction, it doesn't matter who you thought was winning. It doesn't matter if you think it's slid off. If you have the platform there, you can put something completely different on top. You can put a hat. You can put economic policy. You can put democratic policy on. That's not what mutually assured destruction talks about. In security studies, if we're talking about security, war, conflict, geopolitics, and we're talking about nuclear weapons, well, and to avoid, whatever, if we're talking about that, mutually assured destruction only has the platform. And so you sometimes have to wonder then if, yes, a rational actor thinks about probability and game theory, you think about zero-sum games, you think about what an equal-sum game would look like here. You don't leave anything off the table. You also have to then ask about the foundation itself, the thing holding it up. So that's a willingness. Sometimes it could be viewed as the capabilities. It can be used as capabilities against for all this other really dark stuff, all really brutal stuff. Jim Boragini, I hope I'm saying your name right. Good to see you. Thank you for coming into chat. What's up? Welcome to the stream. Ultra MAGA Arizona. Let's go, Jim. I'm in Arizona. We've got Phoenix, USA, Arizona. Let's go. Yeah, a couple years back in Arizona. I don't know where y'all are from, but when Donald Trump was running for president, what did we see? We saw, you would see like people popping up stands like on the side of the road, like you sell fireworks and stuff like that. And you would see people selling like MAGA stuff. Who knows? If you're on YouTube, you could use a MAGA hat. If you are, maybe you just like the style, the fashion, you like the community around it. Lots of reasons for folks to like MAGA. Oh, Angel Wave's way older than me? No way. No way, bro. Let me, no way. Cool. Jim, good to hear. I agree. I thought I heard a leak in my roof yesterday, and it turned out it wasn't, so I'm happy. I was typing on my desktop PC yesterday, and, I heard the whoop, 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 whoop. I thought, wow, what could this be? It could be anything. Turned out it wasn't water. It wasn't rain dripping through my roof. Boy. Do I believe Legion? Let's go. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in God? No, I always tell the story this way too. I was born and raised Catholic. And so, yeah, my mom worked for the church. We went to church for periods of time. We went to church every Sunday. For other periods, we did not. But I went to 2 Catholic schools, and I'm no longer a Catholic, right? No longer a Catholic. I fidgeted too much for religion. I fidgeted too much. After 2 years of Catholic high school, I requested and my parents said yes for me to go back to public school. So in US language, my 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th year were all Catholic schools, and I believed in God. I was an altar server, all of those things. Yeah. And so I actually did a couple weeks back, I did a debate on, if anyone's into philosophy and religion here, one of the major fallacies as well as topics, it's kind of both. It's a double-decker taco, bro. We love our tacos here. It's a hard shell, soft shell combination. But the God of the gaps is a huge topic in religion. And I was lucky enough, I was invited to participate in a God of the gaps debate. So I spent about an hour or two preparing for that. And for folks who are theists here, any Christians here, any religious folks, probably if you're a Muslim as well, maybe if you're a Hindu, maybe not, I don't know, but let me know. But if you are Christian or Muslim, definitely people will say, well, you can't be a good Christian or Muslim if you don't actually study up on your metaphysics, study up on your theology, study up on the natural world, on your sciences. You have to know all of it, because if you try and use a crowbar, if you end up using a crowbar to find God, and you're saying, well, no, I don't need to believe in quantum waves, and I don't know why we have to, but when I see a waterfall, I want to attribute that to God. Or we do talk about the science, and I'm just going to find a way to talk about God in there. Both Christians and atheists will accuse you of using a God of the gaps fallacy. It's saying that where you don't have an explanation, God fits. And so this is why. So where you don't have an explanation, God fits. This is the reason why atheists and Christians both find this debate or topic interesting. I mean, whatever, I'll do it once a year. I think once a year is fine to have that conversation. Like I'm not on a schedule. I don't have an alarm clock for the God of the gaps or something, but yeah, it's just a useful lens to re-examine information and stuff. Legion didn't like I was talking. Oh, Vic is in the house. What's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Duck up bigly. What's up, Radical Coder Ryan? Yeah. So that was my God of the Gaps debate. That was my answer to the question. No, I don't believe in God. But I also feel like you are. So this is a simple response to your simple question. So I don't actually, I'm gonna try a Jordan Peterson voice. I don't have to tell you guys, but I'm gonna, so I don't believe it's actually genuine when we sit around and we ask young men and women, we tell them that, my gosh, can you clarify your position on the Almighty? And young men and women everywhere, they've lost a sense of purpose. It's a sense of purpose that we were after in the first place. And without spirituality, without Jung and Freud, there is no purpose. No, I am spiritual. I love talking about and studying Buddhism. Really, just the metaphysics. It's not a big deal. If you're in chat and you like metaphysics, politics, that kind of stuff too. Also, what's up? No, not everybody loves talking about all that stuff, but I love really getting deeply into the social and technical details of things. And so I'm not I am an atheist, but only if I decide I want to argue for that position. Only if I want to decide I want to argue for that position. I don't use God in any of my arguments, but I also don't label myself as an atheist unless I decide to. Legion Commander says, I was raised by a radical Southern Baptist, but don't necessarily adhere to the crazy religious doctrine anymore, although I do believe in God. Good point, Legion. Good point. Good point. Yeah, Legion Commander also says smart people either believe or usually they don't. Yeah, so good points again. Big ups to Legion Commander for supporting the atheists, whoever's claiming. Yeah, what do you claim? What is your gang? If y'all claiming gang atheist stuff, gang, if y'all know that one, y'all know how to pop off. Once you have a good tuna fish sandwich, once Tony knows where he's going, where he's been, what he's doing next, if you know that, if you know about this gang thing that the atheists, the Democrats do, then all I want to say to you is big ups to you. You do not need to argue about Donald Trump and MAGA. You do not need to argue about Zionism. You do not need to argue about not Zionism. If you know where your tuna fish sandwich came from and is going, good on you. I look like Actrin from the Muppet Show. I think that's a good thing. Thank you, Elizabeth Harbers. I do not gang. I do not gang bang, but that's 50 Cent. I know that rap. Let's go. I can show that. I don't, we're obviously not encouraging, whoops. Another moderator has just handled this. Vic posted a 50 Cent lyric and the AI blocked it. So we are a 50 Cent friendly channel. Yeah, I don't know anyone from the Muppets to Elizabeth, but thank you for that, I think. I've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on in my head. I'm not comfortable. I'm not manly enough, apparently. So if you want to see the full, I don't know if the Muppet you're talking about hasn't shaved in 4 or 5 years and isn't Howard Hughes. I don't know. How does that happen? I don't know. How does that happen? I don't know. How does that happen? I don't know. Good to meet you. Good to meet you, ma'am. Good to meet you. Let's go. All right. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in. If you want to like and subscribe, I always appreciate it. We're not going anywhere too fast. We've got some awesome people having what I hope are awesome conversations in chat. Feel free to come say hi. If you have a question or a comment or concern, feel free to say what's up. To help you navigate outside of chat, which is the main attraction, you have the emoji react buttons on the bottom right of your smartphone. If you are on PC, you can click those with your mouse, hearts and all that other stuff. Let me know what I can do to earn a reaction. If you're not looking to react and you're looking for a great conversation, do take note of the top fans on the top left of your screen. Might be at the top of your chat bar if you are on PC or a good mobile phone. These folks have been contributing all night, so shout out to Angel Wave Productions, other folks who have pitched in to make this a successful stream. We've talked about the Diddy case. We've talked a little bit about the morality of OnlyFans. We've talked about democracy. We've talked about religion. We've talked about Zohran Mamdani and the socialist movement that's emerging out of New York City. We've talked about the economics and game theoretic value of rebellion and non-state groups in Congo and Rwanda. We've covered so much ground, and I am so happy y'all have decided to spend even 30 seconds with me today. That's so weird. Elizabeth, your message got blocked by the automod. Why don't I shave my head? I could shave my head. I'm in Arizona. You can see I got my Phoenix shirt on. I don't know if that was a coded not see sort of notion. I don't think it was. Given your first question, you said I look like a Muppet. But in my opinion, yeah, I could. I probably will when I need another haircut. I'll either shave it or get the sides trimmed down. You know, right now I can do the, you know, the emo stuff. I won't bury my soul for the girl that I love. Barack Obama was sent from above. You know, if I can do like Midwest emo, screamo sort of Democrat stuff, I'm going to do that. 10 times out of 10, I'm going to choose to live passionately with the woman and the man that I love. That's my family. You know, I've got a car and a polo shirt with the coffee stain on the cuff. I've got 2 quarters in my pocket and a lot of love. And a love for the drums. Parumpa pum pum. That was dumb. Sorry. Yeah, so Elizabeth, I'm sorry that the automod blocked your comment, but that's my answer is I don't shave my head because I'm an old emo kid. If anyone else is a millennial, shout out to you. I probably fucked your mom playing Halo. No offense. Sorry, YouTube. I won't say that again. But yeah, I am a millennial. I'm 35 years old. Love talking politics, philosophy, and yeah, I don't do a lot of crap talk anymore. You are more than welcome to crap talk me. You can ask me smart questions, dumb questions. You can ask me correct, right on topic questions. Yes, I am sort of poor right now. Yes. Americans, how do they stay white despite the sun? In Arizona, a lot of people in Arizona come from the Midwest. So there is a lot of actual geographic mobility in addition to income mobility in the US historically. It's also 2025, right? So you can go on YouTube and I guarantee you could find someone live streaming right now who used to make 6 figures, doesn't anymore. But yeah, Americans typically stay white by becoming Protestant, by watching hockey, and that's it. Yeah. No offense, guys. No offense. Yeah, and you can also yeah, so I don't know. All that stuff. I don't know. Robin Webster, thank you for moderating tonight as well. If you're just joining, feel free to say hi to myself or say hi to Robin in chat. Robin is, some people would say she is YouTube royalty. I just think Robin Webster is a really nice person. That's how I would describe it. She's very nice and she's very knowledgeable. So thank you, Robin, for hanging out here. SOS Hemp Factor, thank God for you being here. And SOS Hemp Factor, after we say thank goodness for him being here, if you're an atheist, thank goodness for SOS Hemp Factor being here. And SOS Hemp Factor says, thank God for the big, beautiful bill. Let us know If you want to tell us, do you support Donald Trump? Let us know that. If you support the economics of the bill, if you support some ideological vision for America, feel free to let us know. I would love to bring a comment up on stage, have a conversation, talk about it, but we don't have to. Thank you for letting us know. If you're in chat and you don't support the big beautiful bill, let me know. I think it goes too close to education with the tax credits. I don't think concessions were enough. I think this is a runaway Republican effort. I think it's a runaway Donald Trump, Steve Bannon effort. I think we're also cutting way too much too fast from Medicare and Medicaid, but let me know. Y'all don't like the globalists. Y'all don't like the globalists. Y'all don't like the globalists. I can't get rid of holding this. Boo, 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 boo. I'm a liberal. And I'm lit, bro. Bro, somebody hit like and subscribe. I think we're supposed to like... How do YouTubers normally do this stuff? If you don't have like the right topics for a centrist Democrat to discuss, do you like instead just like pander and grift for likes and upvotes and subscribers? How does that work? I gotta get my views up so I can justify buying a quieter chair. It's my chair, dude. It's my chair, bro. It's my nar, man. It's my nar. So gross. What do you guys think about OnlyFans? Jeez, we have been going for 2 hours and 21 minutes. I put OnlyFans and Diddy in the title, and not one person is talking about OnlyFans and Diddy. Everyone wants to talk about political theory. Everyone wants to talk about theology and metaphysics. Everybody wants to talk about what might happen in the future in American politics in reality. What is going on tonight, guys? Like, no offense, guys. Are you okay? Is everyone okay here? TRC, what's up? What's up? If you were Republican, that would get your likes up. I don't know why that message got blocked. Is your sister a good kisser? I think that message got blocked. We have 2 blocked messages, everyone. We put on the big auto moderator. Yesterday we had 22,000. Yesterday the stream 21,000 people tuned in. So I don't think the problem is that I'm not a Republican. I think the problem is that I'm not that interesting. I'm not that interesting, and there's nothing that I'm interested in. I'm too honest. I get too many haters when I don't tell lies. I'm too honest. TRC, nobody's crying. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. Just kidding. You're a gift from God for being here. You are a gift from goodness sake for being here. Let's go. Let's see. What does Jim say? Jim has a point. Jim has an opinion. Jim has a conversation, guys. Jim says, I support Trump, but not because of his policies, but rather because of what the DC establishment did to him. Rather because of what the DC establishment did to him. So, Jim, let me just I can put a little extra stank on your indignation if I'm allowed to disagree with you. I would just say that it's been since the Tea Party. It's been since Republicans said that no tax, low tax, tax credit. Republicans from Alaska all the way to Florida, even guys like Marco Rubio early in his career who could say things ranging from nothingness to some ideology that doesn't exist anywhere. I would say that it was for the last 15 years, the Republicans have been responding to a non-existent need to innovate. Barack Obama was not innovation. Since I got the stage, since it's my stream, I can keep talking. My point for you, Jim, is, or my opinion is, I don't understand how to get out of the historical context. I've always been able to view like economic issues of wages, of worker safety, of the availability of jobs, of inclusion, things that I care about from value perspectives. I've always been able to view those things bipartisanly. I believe that Donald Trump, if he was treated unfairly by Washington, even though he's been on many debate stages, and this is after having stolen money from cancer organizations, this was after having sexual scandals. I think Donald Trump tried to innovate. Barack Obama didn't really try and innovate. He created a free market exchange. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. SOS Hemp Factor says the Democrats only have one thing they agree on, and that's just to hate Trump. Oh, this is Trump derangement syndrome. This is TDS, baby. TDS. Here's a solution to TDS. Is if people were just steadfast in their ability to commit to having an opinion, or politicians cared about things people had opinions about, like if we could go from there or something. I don't believe that's actually TDS. I believe that that's people on it having a heartfelt belief that, like, all you have to be able to say is Donald Trump doesn't have a platform that's good for our country. Right? Donald Trump is cutting these Medicaid programs, Medicare programs. I didn't hear about that. I might know somebody that uses that. That's all you have to say. I don't think it's Orange Man bad. I don't think it's Trump derangement syndrome. I don't think this is like, what's that painting? The Scream? It's none of that stuff. It's just U.S. politics. At the end of the day, that's all you have to be able to say. Donald Trump and some other politicians haven't convinced anyone that they're building a platform that's good for everyone. Whoops. We've got another blocked message from Alicia. Whoops. Alicia Marie says he wasn't treated unfairly. He bullied the F out of... We can show that. You guys can say the F word here. I don't know why they blocked this, but... whoops. Yeah, so Alicia Marie says he wasn't treated unfairly. He bullied the fuck out of Obama and did January 6th and asked to rig the election. Infamous phone call. Maybe Trump was treated unfairly, please. Who was that for? That was Jim originally said this. So Jim's playing the victim. We're accusing Jim right now of playing the victim. Jim wants to get out of this. Jim's argument, not Jim himself, but the argument he's putting out is that, well, Trump being a victim of so many things gets him out of this. And we just heard that, well, look, that idea is not really that valid because Trump spread misinformation about Obama. Trump tried to derail political efforts with no reason other than his own political gain. And this has been validated by Trump showing he's been greedy, trying to start a social media company in between running for president, getting banned from running charities in New York City. Yeah. Maybe most importantly, his willingness to spread misinformation while on the campaign trail. Even before, Donald Trump's not even president, and I think Alicia's point responds to Jim's point effectively. That's my 2 cents. Hold on. Dustin, what's up, buddy? It is good to see you. I'm surprised you're not over with Rob Noor and the Raging Tomato. I debated with Rob Noor for 5 minutes tonight. I was going to hang out. I was in chat. I was supporting them for a bit. I wanted to come talk politics, philosophy, Diddy, moral philosophy, OnlyFans, moral philosophy. Do you know who prescribes my medication? Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Sean Carroll, Sabine Hassenfelder, Hillary Clinton. I don't take medication, buddy. You can look around for it, though. Why don't you take over? Dustin, good to see you, brother. It's always good to see you here. At my digs. Dustin, what do you think of MAGA? Jatin or Jatin, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Donald Trump is God. Donald Trump is the reincarnation of Jesus. Yeah, that is pretty far religious right. I think a lot of people would say, well, people might have reasons to draw a comparison between the two, but if you look for evidence that you can actually describe Donald Trump as a religious symbol, there's plenty of reasons that Donald Trump can be accused of being a wrongdoer. There's reasons to accuse Donald Trump of being dishonest. There's reasons to believe that Donald Trump has ran into his limitations in the past, including his first term as president. And so happenstance for him surviving an attempt on his life at a rally, as well as misattributing the fact that he hired a political coordinator like Steve Bannon to lie to people, to organize people, isn't a sign that Donald Trump is a reincarnation of Jesus at all. Donald Trump is saving the West from wokeness. Yes, he is. I don't think so. The woke right. Have you guys heard the term woke right? The woke right is an accusation that you have these subjective psychological beliefs that are behaving as politics from the MAGA group. What does that actually mean? To accuse someone or describe someone as the woke right, what does that actually mean? Well, if you're saying I'm trying to have a blue collar conversation about this, you're saying that what you're saying is that any MAGA voter actually gets in the room with a senator, gets in the room with their elected representative, gets in the room with someone from the school board. And when you start actually weighing the pros and cons, finding reasons and evidence, sort of trying to unpack what you say, what you mean in terms of your arguments, what you get back to is, well, these are my own subjective beliefs, and even I can't advance this as policy. Even I can't go forward and say that, well, this is deeply political. That is what the woke right means. To me, the woke right is saying that we believe that populism and a certain softness, we believe a certain immaturity that is about the MAGA right. I don't know if some people have been trying to bring this up in chat, so sorry if I missed it, but people saying that, look, I didn't have a formal social political education. I'm a self-taught guy. I learned economics. Maybe I've been successful. Maybe I've had a couple speed bumps. As tough as some of that stuff is, I always got to ask that, well, if you're a mechanic, if you're a computer programmer, are you talking about US politics like it's being a mechanic or like it's being a programmer? Because it's actually politics. As it turns out, it's just politics. I'm so sorry. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm a little bit off or it's a little bit different. But if you come in without having worked to form a political belief, you're going to elect someone who hasn't worked to form a political belief. That's being a rapper. One of my mods, John, asked if I know how to rap earlier. I know how to rap, baby. Susan Tucker, what's up? Good to see you. I was just defining woke right, Susan. Somebody had asked me. It came up. It happened to be so a certain way. Yeah. I don't mean to say that I wasn't trying to be too smart. I don't know if that is an insult, but yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you. My favorite MC, I liked Prof for a while, Prof. Prof was good. I don't know. I like Joyner Lucas. He went hard. He went hard in the paint. Yeah. So we all have to, when you have the football, if you're a football player, y'all can see, whoosh, if you're able to cut and drive, and when you run into opposition, you get into the knee drive. If you're a politician, what you're talking about is using knee drive to go from A to B back to A effectively and safely, so that one day we may believe in a C. If you see this as different, you are not doing politics. You are doing Ninny Muggins, wishy-washy, Sister Sally, David Dancer type of nonsense moves that I ain't seen in a long time before. Yes. Let's go. Sandy, good to see you. Trump is the greatest president of all time. I'd love to hear it. I'm not doing challenges. We're doing conversations. But if you want a challenge, I would love to hear your reason or justification for why Donald Trump is the best president. I don't want to hear Orange Man bad. I don't want to hear TDS. I would just love to get something that I can talk about as a centrist, and that what I know and guarantee is that there are some people in chat who would absolutely disagree with you. They would absolutely disagree with you. They will find a reason. Vinny Paz. Do you guys know the MC Vinny Paz? I heard him. He's pretty hard. Vinny Paz goes hard for sure. If you're just joining, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to support the stream. We love having conversations. I think let's see. We've got something, guys, we've got something actually on topic. Who'd have thought that, man? No offense. Isn't Duck the host? Isn't the name of this channel Duck's Why? Aren't I Duck? Did I not title the stream? Did I not title the stream OnlyFans and Pornhub? And we have a comment on OnlyFans without P. Diddy. Let's talk about it, guys. I think OnlyFans, Pornhub, and such platforms ruin young minds. It distorts the perception of life and sex, and making a joke of it. Making a joke of a serious relationship, if I can steelman this. Yeah, we see, so maybe I don't know that much about OnlyFans or Pornhub, but I can absolutely imagine that a relationship, that a decision that is sexual in nature, a commitment or responsibility, the values and ethics that come from this and that lead to it, these are all very serious things. Now, OnlyFans and Pornhub at least reduces this down to a commercial activity or a fetish. Commercial activity or a fetish. In most cases, a commercial activity. As it were. As it were. What do you guys think? Is that making a joke of something instantly, like, morally degratifying? How is someone supposed to talk about that? Yeah, this reminds me of like Aristotle. I don't know if you guys know Aristotle. Any guys, folks, people, persons, everyone in chat. Whatever. We try and be inclusive, LGBTQ plus friendly. We try and be friendly to both political sides, all political sides. Even if you maybe this isn't the best stream if you're from like Bangladesh or something, and we're only doing America stuff today. Sometimes we do geopolitics, and yeah, we might have to work to sort of find something we can talk about, but we try and be inclusive. But this all came from me saying guys. So guys, folks, everyone, thank you for joining. We are talking about this comment I'm about to pin up. This reminds me of a form of virtue ethics that we're almost saying that, like, look, if relationships and decisions involving sex are important and serious, shouldn't we treat them at least as important and serious, right? Do I have a responsibility? Maybe it's not even that far. Maybe what responsibility actually means in this case, right? I believe in virtue ethics. Maybe this means that I have to actually run the numbers on it. Maybe I'm like very quantitative in my ethics, very utilitarian. I have to think, well, is there an equal sum outcome when I enter into these types of relationships? It doesn't have to do with money even. It just has to do with the most good for the most amount of people. I know some people talk about that utilitarian ethics stuff, and so if I can't actually pursue that, but I still have to be responsible. Well, maybe that's a useful thing to be responsible. Maybe that's judicious. Maybe it's heartfelt. Who knows? Isn't it the case that a relationship or a decision to enter into a sexual relationship can sometimes be heartfelt? So maybe I should have a heartfelt conviction before going to a website like OnlyFans or Pornhub. That's interesting. But what if I also have to be fair? What if I also have to be tolerant or accepting? What if I also have to be supportive? Could it be said that someone who creates content on the OnlyFans or Pornhub network also went through and did their own version of Aristotelian ethics? That would be my response to SOS Hemp Factor. Maybe it's the case that the virtue that I hold by not supporting Pornhub is necessarily just a personal one. Maybe I can't go to OnlyFans because I am responsible, heartfelt, convicted, judicious, fair, all these things. But if someone else has those same virtues and they decide to create content or consume content, what would be the reason to disagree? Aristotle might say that we ultimately have to be tolerant. We have to be tolerant. There's no way to do it otherwise. Bazungas. Whoa. No offense, bro. I didn't know I was so tolerant until I went on OnlyFans. That's the next OnlyFans commercial. Yeah. Good lad. Let me run. Please donate some money for us to run some mobile ads for OnlyFans. I didn't know I believed in Aristotle until I saw the Bazungas. Then I thought, whoa, bro, I'm going to go all the way Greek, man. Bazungas. Nah, man. It's not the size of the ship. It's if it's rocking in the ocean or not, man. That's empiricism, dude. That's moral philosophy, man. No offense, dude. No offense, man, but that's kind of nah, man. Stop spamming chat. Listen to Robin, y'all. Am I missing a note or a message? Let me know. Is there something y'all want to talk about? Robin, thank you for providing an inclusive space. Susan Tucker asks, me or someone, didn't you immigrate in the States? Maybe. Cher says, Vic, the establishment have... I'm interfering in y'all conversation, but it's my chat. This is my chat, baby. Vic and the establishment have crucified Trump and his family. The deep state paid those women to accuse him of sexual assault, and his family have been abused and attacked since 2016. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a political defense of Donald Trump. I would say, if I, not being a lawyer or anything, but and feel free to share more. I would just say Donald Trump has been spreading racial, misogynistic narratives since before 2016. And I think a lot of people would accuse Donald Trump of having a poor campaign, having a poor sense of the world up to his 2016 presidency, and then therefore, as a result, being an ineffective president. And so, irregardless of your social or moral or ethical support, your cultural and communal support for Donald Trump, share. If I was debating with you, I wanted to prove a point. My point would be this. My point would be very simple. It would be that what Donald Trump has been capable of since 2016 was emerging from misogyny and racial claims. The main thing that you can do to mess up if you're a president is to be a bad president. I don't think any argument comes back from that. I don't usually toot my own horn. I don't like the attention being on me. I don't like that I'm using I so much, but I don't think anyone comes back from that argument. Play that back. Clip me. Clip that. Clip me. Yes, bro. I am a 35-year-old KGB American spy. Clip me, bro. Clip it. Somebody clip that, baby. Like that in the chat. Blow that up. You're going to have to send that out to me on Discord, Twitch, all this nonsense, baby. Make a second channel. Let's go. Clip that. No, I'm just kidding. Sure, that's a good argument. I think it's useful for people to be vocal and share and tell us, I support Donald Trump as the man. He's a man of God. He's a family man. He's all of these things. I believe that if you're coming from this place of values, therefore I also can see my values in action, even if I don't always agree. I think that's an honest argument. I just disagree with it completely. Being a president isn't about being a family man. It's about being a president, dude. Dude, come on. Hop in the backpack, guys. I'm gonna carry. Let's go, baby. Feel free to hit like and subscribe. We are doing these sort of casual conversations, and we're not done with this one, probably. You got about 5 different common convos coming in through here now. Regardless of the world, not irregardless. I like the grammar. Good to see you. Michael, Jesus is God, amen. Michael, you're allowed to say that here. I already talked about this. I don't call myself an atheist unless I decide to. I was raised Roman Catholic. I have a couple, I don't know if this is helpful for you to understand what I do here. Chat's been awesome tonight as well. We try and have conversations. I have a couple different creators that have evangelical Christian channels that I'm friends with. I also have some of the largest atheist people that I'm friends with on Discord. We don't collaborate or anything, but yeah, I generally try and support freedom of speech. You understand me. That's good enough. You understand me. Yeah. But I am an atheist. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. No. Yeah. Thank you for your freedom of speech. You as well. The one thing that we're not going to do here, we're not going to talk about freaking, what's it called? Thank you for freedom of speech. Yeah, the only one rule is Robin's one of the mods. She might disagree or argue with you, but the one thing we're not going to actually talk about is no preaching, spamming in chat, no violating TOS. I'm not saying that you specifically would do that. You've been super reasonable. Theology, yeah, bring it up. Chat it up, man. I love theology. I believe in and I see some Orthodox people. Welcome, Orthodox people. You're welcome to speak your voice here, whatever it is. Your job is to preach. That's not what theology does for sure. But cool. Theology and my job is to preach don't go together. I will say that. And that's fine. Yeah. So Michael and Orthodox folks, the idea I've been interested in even though I'm an atheist, I'll call myself an atheist. The one thing I'll share is that I think a minimally necessitated God is better than a maximally great God. A minimally necessitated God is more consistent with evidence in nature, and it doesn't actually undermine the theological theses listed in the Bible and Quran. How old are you? A range of age. Is that for me, Legion? I'm 35. Very simple answer. Thank you for asking. Non-denominational Jesus follower. Yeah, I was trying to talk about hot church. Well, I was raised Catholic. One of my buddies went to a hot church, and so that was my line in the sand. Stop the Holocaust of the Palestinian people. Dumbo123, thank you for coming into chat with that. We do have on the news circuit right now one of the most important stories that we might see in our lifetime. Donald Trump is pushing for a 60-day ceasefire. This might actually mean the world to a lot of people in Palestine and Gaza. What we've seen, who here thinks they understand the war? We have seen one of the most violent conflicts in the history of the Middle East emerging over the last 2 years, which has been understated and underscored, perhaps because of propaganda both from Israel as well as Hamas. There's been extreme violence and an extreme willingness to carry on the violence. And so there are innocent people in Palestine right now. An estimated just under 2,000 Israelis have died. Somewhere between 60 and 120,000 Palestinians in 2 years. So you can imagine if you don't like war, maybe you don't have to be a pacifist, but you cannot like violence. And I'll just say this. It's hard to understand these things, but the comparison is hard to miss when you have 2 decades, 20 years, and trillions of dollars of conflict between the United States and 2 massive countries, both with about 40 million people in Afghanistan and Iraq. And you see 6,000 US troops die. You see a lot more enemy combatants and civilians die. You see a lot of civilian deaths. And while we think of Israel and Palestine as these small countries, they've waged a war that rivals the violence of the Chechen war between Russia. It can be compared in some ways to the US campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a violent war. And so right now, Donald Trump is proposing a peace treaty. Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas have been talking around the edges of this. And right now, who's caught at the crossfire? Well, a lack of clarity, a lack of nuance, the media's willingness to spread soft narratives, to not do the hard work of telling the truth about this issue. Those things are all going to be victims alongside the people of both Israel as well as Palestine. That's not a lie. That's not a joke. We are looking at one of the most influential, pivotal events that we might see this decade if Benjamin Netanyahu, if the Israeli government, if the IDF, if the leadership in Hamas, if a broken and fractured Hamas political and military organization can agree to pull back everything down to the floor, we'll be in a good spot. Israel has a right to be skeptical, by the way. This is how we would get to peace. Israel can say that, the Al-Qassam still has 30,000 combatants, 20,000 combatants. These are people willing and actively trying to commit violence against Israeli citizens. The IDF, for their part, is currently advertising how much aid is brought in. But do you know what boats, boats, planes, automobiles, planes, trains, automobiles also do? They also transport weapons. They also transport troops. They transport an occupying force. They transport offensive proficiency, offensive efficiency. And so Israel sending 2 million tons of food. You can't talk about feeding the Palestinian people in the same way you talk about bombing the Palestinian people. And for the people who are not victims in Palestine, but active combatants, they're not victims of the conflict. They're victims of geopolitics, maybe in some ways, but they're not victims right now. They're participating. Yeah, you can't see. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Yeah. I really hope they come to a 60-day ceasefire. I hope this leads to more. I hope we don't see that non-specified, non-defined, non-practical, non-pragmatic means reignite a conflict. I hope we can end the war. I hope that this can be seen as a geopolitical signal that Russia has something to gain by ending their war, that there is an equal sum outcome to end the war. There are no viable zero-sum solutions to keep going. I hope so. I don't know if that's true or not. Let me know. Yeah. What do you guys think? Yeah. I haven't heard a lot of the news sites talking about how violent the Israeli-Palestinian conflict would be. It seems so distant. To learn about, tens, dozens, hundreds of Palestinian people being killed every day. It doesn't have to. But yeah, Israel's also saying, look, we've lost 2,000 Israeli citizens. If you had a 9/11 that happened over 2 years for your country, you'd be at war too. Anyone would be. Israel is saying there's still hostages. Anyone would be. I don't think that some people don't immediately see that these conversations have to be addressed for peace conditions. You have to be able to talk about the original nature of social organization at some point. You have to be able to talk about why, even if you're not a Zionist, if you don't believe in liberation or Islamist governments, maybe you don't have a strong feeling about, the old sort of Ba'athist ideology, Maybe you don't have that strong of a belief about this stuff. But one of the things that is still important is that when those societies first formed, when you first had Palestine, right? You don't have to talk about Hamas's leaders being born and raised as Palestinians in Syria or in refugee camps in Palestine. You don't have to talk about why it's the case that Benjamin Netanyahu's origin story, is this politician, someone interfacing and interacting in Mossad, some of the most dangerous military organizations in the world. You don't have to know about organization of violent extremism coming from universities in Palestine. You don't have to know about this. You don't have to know about the cultural differences and political differences of East Jerusalem or the West Bank. You don't have to know about international recognition of the Palestinian people in different areas of Gaza and Palestine. You don't have to know about all that stuff, but as a whole, Bottom line, brass tacks, you have to be able to look on the map, and you have to be able to say that Israel and Palestine both have social mechanisms in place to ensure peace. Both of these places have a way that that people don't see it as politically necessary to keep fighting. They have to have a way to have like a skyhook, right? Almost from like that Batman movie. You have to have a way to be able to pull yourself up. And guess what that looks like? I've got a piece of paper here. If I slap this down, thud, thud. I hope I'm not scaring anybody away, by the way. But if I slap this down, this is my peace accord. I say, look, this is what we're actually doing. As much as we can talk about the ways we skirt around this, as much as we can talk about the strategy that we could do, we could find a way to keep fighting, right? We're sophisticated warriors. We're not simple warriors. We're sophisticated warriors, and we are fueled and fed. There are men and women. There are people with no gender who are participating in this conflict, keeping it alive and more violent than you could imagine. And if you blink, if you stop, there's going to be more violence. But guess what? Now I have a peace accord. Now I have a ceasefire agreement. And what I decide, the praxis, I decide I'm going to create history and movement by actually committing to what's on the page. I'm going to actually commit to what's on the page. That's the only solution. That's the only solution. If you're just joining, thank you. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go back, check a couple chat messages, see if there's anything we can talk about. If you're new here, do feel free to like and subscribe. We talk politics, philosophy. We talk silly stuff like OnlyFans and Diddy sometime, but we're talking about an important event in the world that has deep political, economic, humanitarian, moral, political consequences, and you cannot separate what that solution will look like from what it is. It's one thing. And when you have two very differing worldviews, two very different set of circumstances, I still have hope and optimism that there's no way to view violence as the bad solution, as a good solution. There's no way to view violence alone. That doesn't mean you know a solution or you have one right now. But if we do want to see a diplomatic resolution, we do want to see a new day for Israel, a new day for Palestine. And we're not just demanding, we're willing to put in the elbow grease, we're willing to commit, we're willing to hold our own people back, then I have to believe that no one in their right mind could see that fighting is still the right way to go. No one can see that there's anything valuable enough to spend tens of thousands more of lives on this issue. Not another second of time on something this foolish. Not another second of time on something this foolish. Not another second of time divided. Not another second of time not seeing that the winning play in a society, even if this is not what you ultimately want, it isn't circling the drain. But what you ultimately want, if it is something written down on a piece of paper, and this is something that leading generals in the IDF, leading generals in the United States, leading generals and commanders in Hamas, leading politicians can see that the thing you want are these softer edges of social organization, economic inclusion. These softer edges away from the militant things are the only things worthwhile and worth pursuing. Everything else can be pursued through these things. Then you have something tangible. You can all agree to live another day. That's all I was saying. Do like and subscribe if you want. You don't have to. I don't care. I'm not trying to be compulsory. Not trying to be compulsory. Chris Ward, what's up? UK. Cher, good to see you. Donald, good to see you. Cole Schrader, good to see you. All y'all, good to see you. Screen Watcher, what up? Up. Screen Watcher, I'm modded you. You've been to a couple of the streams now. You don't have to. If you just want to participate in chat, that's awesome as well. But I appreciate you coming and chatting. If you wanna mod, cool. If you don't want to, if you just want to chat about stuff, that's also cool. Everybody, shout out to Robin Webster, shout out to Screen Watcher, a couple of the folks supporting the chat room motion we have. Hopefully a space for free speech, hopefully a place for optimism and hope for hard questions and for just hanging out. Let me be the one that's working twice as hard as everybody. It's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. It might be Friday. I don't know what time it is. But if we can get one moment of clarity, one moment of peace, one moment of feeling together, clear, hopeful, and responsible, that is an adult good day, baby. And if you smash that like, then we are also dabbing on it. If you smash that like, then you can be dabbing on it, I think. I don't know. And for folks that just tuned in, again, just to quickly navigate your YouTube experience, you do have the reactions on the bottom right of your smartphone. You can see some of the top contributors at the top of chat. We've got Robin Webster. We've got a couple other folks in here. Thank you to them for supporting the stream. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. And that's it. That's it. If you want to leave a comment, question, concern, idea, I am going to be scanning through chat in just a little bit here. Maybe now. Pick something to talk about. We are talking about Iran. We did talk about nuclear stuff tonight, but we've been talking about Israel and Palestine a little bit. We have a peace deal on the table. Even if you're not deeply political, it's good to know that there's a severe conflict going on. There is the possibility of a peace deal on the table right now. So hopes and prayers, hard work, prayers, hopes and dreams, hard work, all that stuff should be ideally going into this. All are welcome. Let's go. Michael, I saw you were talking about salvation in chat. I missed the opportunity to engage with you there. We were going deeply into the politics stuff, Middle Eastern politics. Cole, Cole, what's the topic of discussion? I've been talking Israel-Palestine a little bit. I know the title is Diddy OnlyFans. If you have any thoughts on either like a subjective or social morality or objective morality about OnlyFans, about the P. Diddy trial, whatever it is, feel free to leave that up. Sometimes we talk about theory here, philosophy, religion, theology, all this stuff, metaphysics, theology. If you have something important you want to say it in a kind way. Say it in a way that's open-ended so someone can engage with it. And that's it. That's it. That's the topic, that's the direction, and those are the people involved, is people that want to be spoken up to, not down to. Get a couple reps in. OnlyFans is evil. That doesn't surprise me, Michael. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Dude, I'm going to dab right now. Let's go. Bop, 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 bop. We got dabs. We got dabs. P. Diddy is going to lead to Obama. Yeah. So the P. Diddy trial, my thing, I've been, this is what Cher's talking about right now. Let's see. Swift Wolf Coyote, what's up? Thank you. You said you have some positive feedback. I don't know if that's for me or if that's from chat, but thank you so much to whoever you are supporting right now. That is super awesome. I just pinned that baby up. Yeah, so my belief, Cher, if I can just say something really quick on P. Diddy, is that, look, the prosecutors didn't drop the ball. There just wasn't a case for it. It turns out that as much as we want to support victims, we want to support justice, there wasn't a full case to say that Diddy was this sex trafficking kingpin that they said he was. Turns out he was around a mess. He was in a mess. Maybe your personal ethics are harder than that, but in the court of law, the federal government threw everything they had at Diddy, and they said he ordered a limo for maybe an abused sex worker, and that's what he did. He was involved in the transportation of sex work. They didn't convict him on the drugs, drugs, alcohol, all this other stuff. So P. Diddy is maybe not a great person, but as it turns out, the federal government was trying to do the job that Hollywood and the music industry maybe should have. You don't need a guy that is trafficking in human suffering. You don't need a guy that is trafficking in hedonistic pleasure. You don't need a guy who's making a product for 10 million people, trying to sell to all of his own customers. You don't need this person running these freak-offs. I don't care if you don't need this person within 100 miles of prostitution. You don't need to work with a guy like that. But when it comes to the federal government, if that is the most they had to say, if the most they had to say is Diddy did something really stupid and something that was really gross, maybe a little bit illegal, and there maybe is a victim there, maybe Diddy is a bad person, but he's not going to jail for life. He is not going to jail for life. Diddy or Didney. Let's go. We got dad jokes in chat. We got dad jokes in chat. We got automatopoeias in chat. Chris Ward is saying that there's extra prosecutorial evidence. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Chris Ward is saying in chat, I heard there's a guy that's holding out. I heard the guy that's holding out is a scientist. Wondering if he's trying to do the studies of baby oil and Diddy. I don't know if that's a joke or if it's actually true. He's the leading expert on it. So yeah, is there more physical evidence that the prosecution didn't have time to bring? That's always really difficult to expect. So my aunt, I'll tell you something about myself. My aunt was a federal prosecutor that worked with the FBI on white collar crimes. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, my aunt was a FBI prosecutor for white collar crimes, and she her like confidence instilling thing was that, like, look, by the time the FBI and by the time the federal government or the state tells you they want to go to trial, especially with like these white collar sort of high class crimes, by the time they say, okay, we'll go to trial, it usually means that you're federally screwed. It usually means they got you. It usually means that they already know how bad they got you. And so if what Chris is saying is true, is that even if it is true that there's more physical evidence, well, it sort of sounds like they already tried to throw everything at him, and legally, maybe he's not a good person, but he's not that guilty either. He's as guilty as these two crimes where he turned his head the other way or contributed to this abuse and neglect. And so that's the crime. He's going to get time served, most likely. Maybe not. Okay, guys. So yeah, try and get away from, the Epstein Island stuff. No offense. You guys can talk about whatever you want. Screen watcher, I don't care. Run wild. Yeah, I put on auto moderation. If you just want to chat, cool, just chat. But yeah, if you're not sure, but yeah, feel free to, if somebody is saying something that is really bad, and just do like the short timeouts. But also, that's not an invitation for people to violate TOS. If you're violating TOS and I see someone that bans you for longer than a minute and I think you should be gone longer, I will say something really nice about you. I will invite you to come back. I will invite you to clarify your point in a non-TOS violating way, but then I will also happily ban you for 24 hours or longer. No problem. Whatever. Mr. Rajput, why America has killed too many people in Iraq? Yeah. Why did America kill too many people in Iraq? Well, because I don't know if you want me to provide a moral or political or military security explanation. I don't know that I have any of those. Some of them partial answers. If partial answers are okay, the nature of Iraq as having already been urbanized and the U.S. choosing to engage in urban combat, as well as the way in which the main explanation, which isn't a moral one, but it explains the kinetic and physical circumstances, is that, well, the way Iraq is and the way the Ba'athist is, you go on day one, and by day 1.5, before you guys get to lunch, you're already going to have people looking for a paycheck who know how to use a gun out on the streets. You're already going to have other people looking to go out on the streets. And this is probably a really crass answer. Feels like rubbery almost, right? Feels rubbery. The US killed 1 million, 2 million people in Iraq because diplomacy failed, because international systems failed, and because the world got in such a bad way that if you're at all optimistic, the United States, in our perfection, had to pursue a national interest that involved toppling Saddam Hussein, and that led to the death of 2 million people. If you want your answer, there's your answer. There's your sign. There's our sign. Judge Schuette says if you're stupid, wear a sign around your neck that says I'm stupid. Well, maybe I'm a little bit stupid, but there's an explanation. America killed 2 million people in Iraq. Whatever. Civilization is innocent. Yeah, the United States is always innocent too. Yeah. United States is innocent, You have a young Barack Obama, you have a Bernie Sanders, you have these small political coalitions who can explain things in a way that make people commit to peaceful things. Can make people commit to something in a peaceful way. I don't know. You might know, you probably know more about this than I do. You probably know more about this than I do. It's hard for me to say. I don't know. I don't know. America's genocide in Iraq. It was not a genocide. Maybe it was. A really violent conflict. Russia had a peaceful war in Georgia once. Did you guys know that? Russia had a very peaceful war. I think like 50 people died, 60 people died in the Georgian war. I think like a couple 100,000 were made refugees, but it was a peaceful war. Russia will tell you, Russia, we only send 14,000. We only send 14,000, only kill 60. What kind of math is this? Now, the Chechen conflict was much worse. You couldn't imagine it. It was so bad. I got to learn about all that stuff still. I've been Googling on Google Scholar, like the big brain websites. I've been Googling like rational actor theory to study non-state and like rebel groups, right? You don't always have to do ethnography. You can just talk about like red pill, right? Like the red pill theory of how rebel groups work, how M23 in Rwanda works, or in Congo, right? It's not in Rwanda. It's not mathematical. But you got these rational actor theories. You've got a theory called relative deprivation, where people have this perception about themselves. The people say that, like, well, my expectations for how the world should be and how it is are actually quite different. And while I am like any other person, I adjust my expectations. One does not pick up from the other. One does not ever find parity. And so you have all these drivers in this direction that, well, if you have relative inequality, you don't have, maybe there's these like more sociology, methodology questions, institutional stuff. Eventually you just end up in a conflict. Eventually you end up having these rebel groups with outsized power. And so it's always fascinating, if you're in the United States and you are a security theorist, wherever you are and you study that, we want to talk about genocide and non-state groups. One of the mathematical drivers, almost like the economics of these things, is just look at how many people they're recruiting. Look at how they're recruiting people. Look how they're getting funded. How many people are in it? This doesn't tell us about justice. It doesn't tell us about what's moral or ethical. It doesn't tell us about what's politically expedient. It doesn't tell us about political expediency. And so if you want to end up just like farting all over yourself, sure, I'll be the ugliest guy on YouTube telling you that, we got to count the black market small arms, bro, just to figure it all out. There's got to be an answer in there somewhere, But then you also have right, this isn't like actual political science, but then you also have these crazy events that happen, right? Then you also in political science say that well, why is it the case? Why is it that an entire decade of Palestinian and Israeli relations got crapped on because Hamas kidnapped an Israeli soldier? Like, I get it. I do. I get it. I do. I understand that. You're really pissed that they took this fucking dude out of the tent or whatever it was. This guy, yeah, he drove his car over line. In Russia and Palestine, you take man out of car when he drives car over line. This is my line. Obviously there was a victim in this. There was an injustice. There were, active combatants or people who knew they were supposed to be butting heads. But you can still ask why this was supposed to seemingly derail a decade of relations and progress. That's 10 years, right? In 2006, that's 10 years where you're now elected government. You're now sort of partisan government, right? Wink, wink. This thing that's supposed to be optimistic, this thing that's supposed to be robust enough and working to be robust enough to manage society for both these extremist, crazy terrorist settlers, these crazy people in Israel, as well as like 10 million Israelis who are just like normal people, right? That's the majority of Israel. And then in Palestine, yeah, you have Palestinians that are living in refugee camps that haven't been able to afford medicine their entire life, that have family in Palestinian diaspora. Like, am I allowed to say that? Yeah, cool. I don't care. It's not the topic, but yes, right? You have wealthy and poor Palestinians, and now you have a partisan government in 2006 in that area. You have a partisan government, and what do? You choose to fight. You choose to fight each other. You don't talk about why every single time a society thrives is because of civil society and social organization, right? That praxis, that pragmatic, game theoretic view of how humans make decisions. At the end of the day, you don't have psychology working on that, right? I want Slavoj Zizek telling me a bedtime story about, right, for my Hegelians in chat, all three of you, for my Hegelians in chat, I want Slavoj Zizek telling me a story about how society, right, about how society finds these psychological evolutionary mechanisms to overcome like philosophical deficit, economic deficit in that society. But you don't get that, right? You kidnap an Israeli soldier. You do this using a group that has already killed 1,000 Israelis. And then in Israel and Palestine, then you fight for the next 10 years and the next 10 years until you find the next 10 years or 2 years that you can really go at it for. Really go at it. The only type of intolerance, in my opinion, let me know what you think about this in chat, right? Do feel free to like and subscribe, and then I'm going to ask my question. There is no gatekeeping here. If you're in chat, if someone's not being polite to you, tag me. We've got some awesome moderators in chat, but thank you for coming. Do hit like, subscribe. Feel free to use the reactions on the bottom right. Feel free to check out the folks who've been driving the conversation on the top fans list. Hello and welcome. But my question is, why do I feel that why do I feel that the only type of intolerance that makes sense is having an intolerance for inaction, having an intolerance for violence, right? To me, this is what nonviolence is all about. And I am absolutely a tryhard right now. I brought my Xbox controller. I got thumbs. I just, however it works, snapped them in today. I got thumbs. I want Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden back, baby. I want the Republicans that care about peace enough to actually task the CIA, to task the State Department on using the United States as force for good. And I don't want any more bullshit. I'm sick of it. I want transparency. I'm not saying that I'm going to be a partisan hack. I'm not saying I'm going to have unilateral trust for the government. But what I am saying is I will have love and affection and trust you if you are the one that is deploying Western resources to support a more prosperous and peaceful way of life. If you can't find a way to sort of weave into this narrative that geopolitical competition is a myth, if you can't weave in a way to support the United States' national interest, do you think I woke up yesterday? Do you think I'm foolish? Do you think I would talk about, one of my favorite YouTubers, former CIA agent, he was an officer, John Kiriakou? Do you think I am stupid enough to be asking for politicians to be trustworthy through both strength and dialogue? And at the same time, I'm so foolish to think that this makes us weaker. I'm so foolish I would even accept talking about that. No. What is overwhelming is the fact that a reasonable person should guesstimate that 80,000 people have died in Israel and Palestine. What's reasonable to believe is that you still have the entire Russian Federation and the entire Ukrainian nation state running at each other. What is reasonable to believe is that Iran in the first place had nothing to do, right? I am not some dogmatic person, but Iran had nothing to do with this conflict. Iran had a diplomatic conversation on their plate that they were due up for, tasked and assigned by the United States. And the fact that that conversation happened by way of a stealth bomber and destroying 3 nuclear sites, I don't care what the damage is. I don't care about the missing uranium at this point. What I care about at this point, what I care about at any point in time, like any rational, reasonable person, is that Iran did not have a role in this fight, did not have a dog in this fight, and Donald Trump has blurred the lines of American power in the first place. The United States should have never let their foot off the gas about being a moral standard bearer, whatever morality has to mean in a liberal democracy, in a free society, whatever being strong and diplomatic and judicious and responsible had to mean, and whatever that translates to, once you learn about John Nash and John Rawls, all that stuff matters. At some point, you hand this stuff off to the brain scientists. They hand it off to the decision makers. And the fact that I think this is happening right now with Donald Trump, I don't believe it. I want to believe it. I wish I could change my mind, but you see this guy lying on television and you say this is complexity. Let me know how you feel about this. Yeah, someone's saying justice for the kids in Gaza. Absolutely. Houthis and the people who attacked our ships. What is justice for them? What is justice once violence has been committed? Let me ask you this. How should I manage this? How should I believe that ugly, crass men and ugly, unplanned acts of violence that I don't totally understand? How is this complexity? It isn't. I'm not asking you to be a brain surgeon or be smarter or dumber than anyone else, but Iran didn't have a dog in that fight. Someone wanted me to talk about that a little bit more. Coffee, fine, good to see you. Iran didn't have a dog in the fight. What are you smoking, dude? Yeah. Iran has been an isolationist state. They've depended most heavily on China. So if you're Iran, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm saying, well, look, maybe long-term, in the past, we've dealt with Iraqi and Afghani power projection. Maybe we probably will again in the future. But Israel's always going to be a Western offensive actor in the region. But if I accept and I just say that, and I say, well, what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? Yeah, probably there's subversion. There's a desire to obfuscate or weaken the regime's hold. Okay, still all this stuff. Cool, right? Sick, bro. Nar, bro. So once I accept all that, I go back to it and I say, well, look, they're an energy producer. They still need China for any efforts to support or subvert the regime. The regime has so much wealth, they can seize $90 billion worth of assets and cash from their people, and they still have the same country. $90 billion. Do you guys know that? The Ayatollah is one of the richest people in the world. Richer than Elon Musk, right? Ayatollah, it's not him personally, but if you go to Iran and they say, well, look, whatever the reality is here is that, the blend of people that have power that's difficult to understand from a different perspective, the way we actually move forward is this sort of stability and our ability to integrate change. Maybe that model doesn't work forever, but it works if you're Chinese, works if you're China. Yeah, it could work. Could work if you're almost anyone. Could work if you're almost anyone. And so it is only this, this old narrative that was passed by Samuel Huntington initially called the Clash of Civilizations. This idea that you have to have an Islamic world and a Western world. This idea that almost like inadvertently or indirectly supports this view that Zionism is, Zionism is almost like this theology, right? It's like Nazism 2.0 is Zionism 1.0. Iran didn't really, and I think a lot of Israelis probably believe that too, that, you have this repressive regime, but you have lots of repressive regimes all around the world. What are you actually doing right now? What are you doing right now? Alicia, thanks for joining. Alicia says, subscribe, going to bed. It's midnight here. Alicia, thank you so much for chatting in chat. And yeah, absolutely. Good to see you. Have a good sleep. Thanks for joining this stream. Have a good sleep. Did I just say that? No, dude, we're not doing that. We are not doing familial or any form of intimate relationships, and those would involve personal habits. So we don't say good night to each other here. We don't say have a good sleep. If y'all want to talk about vegan bagels, if you guys want to talk about avocado tacos, like double-decker nar to the nar fried avocado and panko bread with a hard shell and a soft shell, we can do that, but that's about it. We are cooked, bro. We are cooked. I'm just kidding. I like that. Justice for humanity, somebody says. Sheepdog says, the paradigm of winners and losers. If you win, there has to be a loser. Why? These truths are self-evident. Yeah, that's a good one to play off of. The paradigm of winners and losers. I don't know if I totally understand it right now. If you win, there has to be a loser. If you win, there has to be a loser. Yeah. Except in the eyes of God, right? I'm not religious, but we can think of an objective morality in the universe. And, there is, this is almost that social Darwinism, Calvinism mindset that, from the perspective, how can I justify inequality, something that might be egalitarian yet unequal? That sounds a little more charitable, a little easier to interpret even. And so maybe I just found like a little hot spot, right? I found a crevice. A society that helps me do a little better than my fellow man. And that also means I have a different type of responsibility. Everybody has the same responsibility, but you're going to see me acting out about it a bit more. I'm going to sound off about it. Okay, cool. No offense. No shit, brother. I'm not a veteran or anything. Grandparents in the military. But if you're in the military and you use force doctrine and living and dying as your standard of success, of victory, I mean, that sounds really odd. That if you survived a war, there had to have been a loser. Yeah, maybe, but were those people your losers? You won, but were those people your losers? Every single person you cared about that came back from that same war, yeah, somebody died, but were they their dead person? They won. Everyone that didn't die on the other side also won. To me, that sounds like it's equal sum. Like it's evolutionary or something, but maybe it's not. Maybe it isn't. But this is also just how weird that, not even being too empathetic about, what's going to be PTSD in both Israel-Palestine and Gaza, as well as in the Ukraine, as well as in Russia, when they can all sort it out, right? As well as, maybe the most aggressive form of hot Baptist church, south of the Rockies, south of West Virginia. It's got to be whatever it is. It's got to be south. Getting picked up. No, but this is how goofy that sort of military logic is with respect to people who have PTSD, is that like, well, yeah, you have this really clear view. You can't argue with the view of winners and losers from the perspective of life and death. But then you see guys like Abu Zubaydah who got fucking killed, or you see guys like whatever his name is. You see the guys in Guantanamo Bay who got tortured. That guy's a fucking loser in that same view. That sounds unjust and inhumane, but that guy fucking lost, dude. Who won because of that? That doesn't sound like justice to me. I don't know if I can buy the whole bag there. That guy got fucking waterboarded, dude. What did you think was going to happen? It's absolutely brutal. It's not ethical. It's not just. Winners and losers, it's hard for me to weave that into a subjective personal moral stance. Oh, whoops. Somebody's talking about H3. I saw Ethan Klein. Oops, sorry. I don't have a mic or a tripod. I got a hardworking phone. What up, Nikki? Good to see you. I don't know if that's me. I am not loaded. I'm not loaded right now. Joseph Kyle, good to see you. U.S. lost in Afghanistan and Iraq. Yeah, by geopolitical standards, absolutely, it could be. Gabrielle G, it's okay. You will get there. Good to see you. Patrick, thanks for joining. Do I think H3 is a Zionist? I haven't seen enough of his stuff. I don't know. Like, I would ask first and foremost, are you a Democrat? Okay, then also, sorry to be disrespectful, but maybe because I'm a political theorist by training, maybe if I'm going to be dad at some things, then the Full House song comes on. Everywhere you look, it's a heart for people who love you. You know, you got someone else like this. You know, but if I'm like a political dad and somebody wants to talk to me about Zionism, I kind of want to hear in the first place. I want to be able to hear in the first place why you believe what you believe, what you actually think that means in the real world, and then what I can say about my own worldview from that. I don't want to commit someone to saying like, well, you're a Zionist, you know, even if I'm not Hebrew, maybe I got a little swag. I hope I have swag from everywhere around the world before I go the way of the grim and all other dark things, before I go the way of Cerberus, before I go the way of Vishnu. I hope I have a little culture from all over the world in me. But if I don't, and I just have to be charitable, yeah, who knows? Maybe the guy's a Zionist, and I bet we could talk about 100 things, and I bet he doesn't do shit about it. I bet he doesn't do shit about it that he shouldn't have been doing in the first place. Another Malakoff, good to see you. Yeah, we've got moderation on. We're not trying to, I just have the moderation bot on, so your last comment about something being worse than the Nazis. Yeah, it got blocked. If you want to find a different way to say it, happy to have a conversation or not a big deal. Up to you. We think everybody contributes something. I think when we have to work a little bit to get the philosophical or political message on. Alicia, what time is it where I am? Let me actually give you a little bit of information. Good to see you, by the way. It is 12:30. It is 12:26. Alicia, thanks for joining. You got a couple other blue wrenches, by the way. If you're watching, feel free to like and subscribe, but most importantly, say what's up to Screen Watcher. Alicia just joined, our awesome mods, Robin, keeping the conversation welcome. Robin, thank you so much for everything you did. Angel, awesome. Angel, you're awesome for supporting whatever you're supporting right now as well. Just a quick round of thank yous. My phone battery is at 11%, so we're maybe going for another 20 minutes or so. Another 20 minutes, whatever you guys want to do. Party of the mustache man. You guys want to weave together some big old topics? Big old topics. I'm so strong. What's good, bro? Wagwan, bro. Papyrus. Bumbleclat. Wagwan, bro. I really slap the like button. Nah, just kidding. Pickle Games is asking me about which one. Someone brought up Eric Adams, as well as we've got questions on Zoran Mamdani. So there is a socialist running for governor in one of the biggest cities in the world, New York City. Is New York the biggest city? It's a huge city. So we have a democratic socialist talking about investing in public transportation, opening government grocery stores, in one of the biggest cities in the United States. This is an economic push. It's an economic ask. It is all this stuff. A lot of the MAGA folks are still trying to sell an old story about corruption, which didn't exist with a Democratic mayor. The American empire is falling. Imperialism is falling away. We have socialists opening up like a whatever you call it, like pad thai. And then at the end of the day, we also have, so I think it's a good conversation. I'm sort of a centrist, so I'm not immediately going to vote for you or any of this other stuff in the United States. Figure it out, Americans. Let's get small things in place. Let's empower great leaders in democracy, and let's get great citizen engagement involved. Let's get democratic activation, and then Zoran Mamdani, I will absolutely strategize for you. Do you want a brutal motherfucker in your camp? You want a brutal motherfucker? It's 12:30. It's 12:30. If you want a brutal motherfucker, I'm the guy to bring. What else did you want? You want me to put a little party hat in that? Why are people going to vote then? You let me know. Hoop, light work. Hip, light work. Dark Nikki is pro-Trump. Pro-Trump, does that mean pro-Make America Great Again? Is MAGA movement? Are you a Republican? Good to see you. Thanks for sharing that opinion. We got bots rolling on my side. Daisy Mal, this is the one time I will ever not defend myself, and I absolutely am on one right now, bro. Absolutely on one. Sisyphus is an internal lift which is made by maybe people like me, greedy YouTubers looking to grow, noob tubers. And then the other side of it, the other side of the grift is the other side of the grift. Yeah. What was the other side of the grift? Oh, crap, something short-circuited in my brain. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. The Sisyphus, pushing a rock up a hill was what I was going to say. Yeah, who knows? Maybe like Zoran Mamdani is like that Greek myth Sisyphus. Was he the guy that pushed a rock up a hill forever? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, dude. Yeah, what is task and purpose or some shit? Word association. Brain rot, brain fried. Yeah, Talia's bringing some optimism. I love that. She's looking at solution. He, she, they. Talia, sorry. Yeah, 411 is saying Costco has a $30 an hour rate, and people have been employed for 25 plus years. New York City can do it easy. Yeah, absolutely. I think large companies like Target, like Kroger, like many others in the United States are large corporations. Companies like McDonald's even provide a lot of people their first working opportunity. Even if you don't end up in a W-2, like a salaried job, with full benefits and everything. A lot of times people who need the flexibility or are really just looking for that next stage up in income to support a very modest lifestyle, maybe a little bit of savings, can look at a job like Costco. Like if you are making $30 an hour, if you have opportunities for management training programs, those things are really good. And a lot of this comes from large companies in the United States, everywhere in the world. In any capitalist system, these come from large companies. So yeah. And so Alicia is saying everyone has to start somewhere. Yeah, I did, what's it called? I did busing, barbacking, bartending. Yeah, when I was a kid. So my goal when I was younger is I wanted to either get a doctoral degree or become a professional triathlete. Crazy stuff. But those were good times. All right, so I got something for Malkath. Chat, and we're not jumping down anyone's throat. I think this is a valuable question. It's a good point too. It's a good point. If we're, let's say we're landing someplace other than Space Mountain, right? We're landing in reality. We're not doing like fake stuff. So the left literally let rioters run free and destroyed major cities, protecting criminals. We now have another J6er. Here's my counterpoint if we're doing partisan politics. Can we agree to just disagree about this stuff saying people actively participating in democracy are rioters and insurrectionists? Can we say that? My belief, Malkath, is that, well, now we've seen that multiple people have been pardoned by Trump, have reoffended. It does turn out that, we don't have these types of concerns for people in LA or people who participate in No Kings protests, right? If I'm debating you as a Democrat, these are the types of things I would say. And so, no, it's actually the case that the Republican insurrection on January 6th is still having repercussions today. It was 10 times worse, and the MAGA crowd did not handle itself. This was the real TDS. This was the real Trump derangement syndrome. Tell me why I'm wrong. Let me know what I haven't seen in the last couple of years, actually. What I haven't seen is responsibility saying that we spread conspiratorial misinformation And we made unimportant, actual serious injustices, actual concerns people had in our democracy. Malkath, I love you sharing your opinion. I love considering that the left has opportunities and places to go still. I love that you're giving me the opportunity to steelman the things that the Democratic Party hasn't done well. Maybe one of those things is that we haven't had Zoran Mamdani or another strong democratic socialist be able to take an executive leadership role. Maybe the problem is that we haven't had on the left democratic socialists doing anything other than running for rep seats, running to be able to vote in Congress. Now we have someone that can support budget recommendations and support implementation of those budget recommendations. They can work on building coalitions with lawmakers, with private corporations, and with free citizens in the United States. So is the left literally rioting right now? Was the left literally letting rioters run wild? No, the left looks at a person and says, there's an opportunity here. And not everyone does that well. There is a lot of anger. There's whatever. I'll let you say the stuff that you don't like us doing. But shush. No offense. What I'd say, you don't want to talk about Democrats nicely. Posh, tisk, tisk, all this stuff. Posh. Stick the beard on your face. Posh. I'm a vape, bro. I'm a vape. Vape life instead. Y'all, chat, can you guys recommend something to talk about? Or should we call the stream? What do you guys think? Direct democracy. Y'all having fun talking? I feel like I'm just screaming at a blank fucking wall in front of me. I'll show you what we got going on. We got a shoebox from Topo Athletic. We've got a lamp. We've got a light. And that's it. We've got a mess. We've got a messy room. Brad Baker, good to see you. Get a haircut. No, not like that. Like I show everyone, Brad, you get the same treatment. Sorry if it's brutal, bro. No offense. Here's 5 years of beard, man. Here's 5 years of beard, bro. Like and subscribe for the beard, bro. Your buddy Duck's always going to have it, man. You can count on me, Brad. No offense, dude. Angel Waves bringing that libertarian heat. I love it. I hope I'm not taking you out of context. I love it. I love it. Did I talk about the big, beautiful bill? I got to do a little more of that. I got to do research, right? I want to bring a little bit more. I taught so far what I've seen with the big, beautiful bill, before we jump into Alligator Alcatraz a little bit. Before the big, beautiful bill, what I saw was that, it looks like despite negotiations, it's still pretty far right. It seems fairly nationalist. It doesn't seem like folks that are anarcho-capitalist, folks that are libertarian, folks that have these more traditional conservative backgrounds may only like the fact that it reduces the deficit. My opinion is that it's really bad for blue-collar working-class Americans. It's really bad for Americans who have different circumstances, and that those circumstances precondition, there are preconditions for them being full economic participants, for them fully enjoying their Bill of Rights, and for them being able to fully embrace being an American citizen, as well as being an effective participant in America, being the stalwart and the bulwark and an exporter of American-style democracy, American-style freedom, and of having an efficient market system that is keeping people optimistic. Being able to use those things and funnel towards longer-term Democrat goals like ecological awareness, like sustainability, finally consolidating DEI and inclusion in the workforce. Clearing this little stuff so we can go for those big 2030, 2040 goals. reducing the level of tensions, being effective at conducting diplomatic and competitive relations with countries that we don't agree with India, with Russia. All of these things are really important. I think it's great. I think a lot of Americans care about a lot of this stuff too. I think that maybe there's some misunderstanding that both MAGA, if I'm going to be a communicator and I'm going to try and bring people together a little bit, I think people will say, well, look, the last 15 years, like I say a lot when I'm debating, the last 15 years, MAGA hasn't talked about anything. They've talked about reasons and evidence without any reasons and evidence actually existing. And it's not true, right? It's not actually true. If we look at America as a material state of things, that is the result of our nation state, we can be so peaceful as a result of this. We can be so accommodating of fair and inclusive diplomatic and offensive efforts with one another. And we can mitigate the negative impacts that capitalism inevitably has on social structure and what should be seen as possible over 10 years. We should be able to mitigate all that stuff. That should be the platform we're based upon. I forgot what the question was, but yeah, in the big, beautiful bill, I don't see, if Trump is passing a budget and we don't have an American culture behind it, if we're not learning every day and we are not appreciating the fact that we as humans learn every day, we're not doing our jobs well. We're also not setting small goals. That's what I see Alligator Alcatraz as, is a lack of a small goal. If I actually want to tackle this issue of illegal immigration, let me talk about immigration, and people that might immigrate to the United States legally or illegally paying their taxes. Let me talk about putting together an incentivized platform to help the people that pay their taxes, that play ball, that do the right things. Let's support that overall vision. Let's look at the actual ethnographic and cultural drivers of people wanting to leave another country, wherever it is, to come to the United States. Let's talk about why there's political and social and economic disruption in so many places, and America is seen as both the person to blame as well as the solution for that. I don't think this is overly optimistic. I think this is just what realistic looks like. And I think when we are talking about needing to build a lever of violence or conflict or competition, however you see that, without running away from the horrific parts of this, without talking that you actually have a bad guy that you would be targeting in this. If we're not, Satan calls up on the red phone in the Oval Office about an emergency in this case, if we're not talking about creating political expediency and building foundationally, if we don't have any foundational policies or motions going together, I don't understand what we're doing then. What are we doing here? Institutions should be understandable and explainable. That's simple. That's the actual American platform from my point of view. I don't mean to be too patriotic. I don't mean to say that the United States is not imperialistic, is not overly competitive. Let me be honest. Because I do have a high functioning form of autism, I would be the first. I'm gonna miss so much social context. So by the way, chat, you guys are awesome. If you're being social, if you're having those latent conversations, that's really cool too. Whatever. If you're not, if you're just having direct, blunt conversations, I don't know how all that stuff works, to be honest. But if I am being honest with you, if I'm being completely honest with you, the United States always behaves 10 times more badly than how you would expect it to be. But individuals and other competent leaders in government can also behave 10 times more effectively than anyone imagines it to be. And so we have to find that parity. And if we say this is a platform of good faith, then, well, is the big, beautiful bill setting up the United States to stay within their lane? Is it also setting up other nations to understand us as an ally and not an enemy? When you have to do both, when you have to work within complexity, when you're spread out on 1,100 different things, little pieces of gravel, it's not even gravel, right? It's just this sort of latent nature in our head. It's what Adam Smith described. It's what George Washington and Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton described. It's people needing to make sense of institutions in this common sense way. Yeah, you have to be able to write a storybook and bring that up eventually. And that's that. If that isn't the thing that is doing the big beautiful bill, then nothing is. Hey Jody, what's up? Jody, I am an optimist. I'm an optimist. I'm willing to work 10 times harder in a pit of mud in the dirtiest places you can imagine. I'm willing to have a really bad day because I think other people will believe that a really good day leads to another really good day. So I don't know. Good question. Talia says, realistic was if Kamala got elected, those ideas would have been welcome. It's 9 alarm now. It's a fire. They are walking us into a technocracy. Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better myself if I had tried. Realistic was if Kamala got elected. Yeah. So I do think it's really scary for both MAGA and for both Republicans and Democrats to think of bureaucracy having to be planners. I think it's really scary to think that the best solutions that we can imagine are those that arise inorganically. I also think, for all of that being said, for all of that being said, I don't think we should penalize intelligence, right? I don't know. Maybe Zoran Mandani is going to be another solution here. Yeah, I don't have anything good for that. I think people see like a academic way of saying something is you have modernization that's operating everywhere. And so there's one form of moderation. There's a single word of modernization and future proofing. There's one form that is only competitive because it is what everyone is already doing. Surprise, it has its own physics, it has its own mathematical models, it has its own necessary conditions for you to believe in that modernization. And so in one sense, yeah, I'm really skeptical of technocracy too. I'm also really skeptical of solutions that don't look towards. I think my phone's gonna die soon, so I'm gonna cool out a little bit. Thanks everyone. You guys have made this a really fun stream. I'm showing we got about 30 people in the audience, so I appreciate all 30 of you. 30 people. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Got 30 likes, so that's awesome as well. Thank you to everyone who liked the stream. If you want to drop a subscription for stuff like this, I appreciate it. Huge shout out again to, Alicia. One of our mods here is awesome. We had Robin. We had is it screenwriter? Shoot. Yeah. What's screen watcher? Sorry, dude. We screen watcher. So we have an awesome team of mods keeping the conversation safe, inclusive, hopefully having some fun dialogue conversation. Thank you for doing that. Angel Wave was here all day for the whole stream. So thank you. If you guys want to check out that leaderboard in chat, that is on the top. Feel free to, if anyone else makes content, you can like, subscribe, all that stuff or whatever. Yeah, and that's it. I don't know. Did we cover everything? Did we talk about Diddy? Did we?